Other day, the Painting Realms. So? It's a little bit different now. My setup is still downstairs. I didn't bring it up, so we're doing face cam for now. Next time we'll have it painted. Also, Bill is away on vacation, so my buddy Ray's gonna be joining me today. How you doing, Ray?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm excited to be here. I think we have a very exciting season coming up, and I wanted to get in at the ground level, which is why I didn't wait for Bill here. But thank you for being able to join in such short notice. I do appreciate it. But so
No
you've been
problem.
playing for 4 months now? That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think August is when I started.
Yeah, a
First
little
game.
bit after the Skaven book came out, but that's what motivated you to start playing.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a little bit of last season in you, but this will be your first one like really on the ground floor.
Yeah, and I'm ready for it. I was not a fan of the bounty hunter.
Yeah, I
It,
think Bounty Hunters really ruined the last season for sure, and I hated it. But like there were cool ideas there. Like I think the Proving Ground was cool.
I did like the proving
Yeah,
ground. I actually like the expert conquerors too.
I think so
It
too. Yeah, I don't
it
think that
let,
was
it
that
let
out of bounds.
you it let you make kind of an attack with a small unit, especially if that was damaged and
Hmm.
wasn't useful for anything else.
Exactly.
You could peel them off and go take an objective at least.
Or even like a minimum sized unit could just have some great value. Or I like it on like
Exactly.
things of stalkers that were like base 9, and like if they're not in combat, they're at least doing something.
Yeah.
And Bonds of Battle was cool too, but Bounty Hunters was, I think everyone's sick of it.
I mean, it doubled the damage on a lot of things,
Yeah,
which completely throws the balance curve way out of line.
absolutely.
Uh, and there weren't provisions for mitigating it either. So it was either if you didn't do it, you were at a disadvantage. Is kind of how I felt.
Yep. But I'm happy to have that all go behind us. And so you did you read much of this new season yet, or not quite?
Uh,
We played
I
a
read
game
a
together.
we played a game, and I read pretty much enough to put a list together, a list or two. Um, which I cheated in the first list because I misread a rule.
Oh yeah, the endless spell thing.
No, the sharpshooter.
Oh, okay.
I had storm fiends as sharpshooters, which they can't be.
Oh, yeah. Oops. Yeah, we can't be having that. But yeah, well that makes it interesting though. I think that you know what? Let's not bury the lead. Let's just jump right into it. You think? Yeah.
Sure thing.
All right, let's go. So first thing, I think we saw these on the Warhammer community page, but it's good to go over it. So the emphasis is on Galatian champions this time around, and it's heroes with wounds 10 or less that don't have a mount and are not unique. So that's a very narrow list of things. And like usually a unit type that was considered very bad in previous editions and seasons. I mean, well not bad because like you still have buff pieces attached to them, but like they don't do a lot of damage. You're just paying for a buff. And if the
Yeah, they
buff's
weren't
worth it, it's good, but they don't do much on their own, right?
they weren't centerpieces of armies, and they weren't. I guess they were pretty flimsy,
Right.
and so it was hard to think, oh, I'm going to put a foot leader and think it would survive. If you wanted it to get into melee, you had to have some way of doing it way more than the point cost of that hero alone.
Right. That's true. But I think actually I'm wondering there might be an echo going on. I'll check that out in a second. But yeah, so I think right now, like the emphasis is to try to make them more valuable in this time around, and I think the way they wanted to do that is mostly through scoring. But like,
Yeah,
we'll talk about the rest of the rules too. So these, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say when we get to the, I thought about it a little bit more when we get to the strategies
Yeah.
or the battles tactics.
Battle tactics.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure if they leaned hard enough into the Galician champions, but we can talk about that when we get there.
Yeah, I would like to talk about that for sure because I'm curious why. But the other rules are key to victory. So they can't be targeted by shooting attacks if they're within 1 inch of a battle line unit. So that makes them safe from enemy shooting, which was a problem. Not so much this edition, but in second edition, like foot heroes get sniped off the table like crazy by shooting, and that made shooting pretty dominant. But the way the game turned out in third edition, that's not quite an important thing to be able to do. But being able to just shoot off a support hero is actually pretty strong anyway. If you need it, and not being able to unless you take the battalion, of course. But innate protection to that isn't bad, especially if they're expected to score your battle tactics.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last thing is the incentive for going second in this game is like Galatian champion can carry out 2 different heroic actions instead of 1 if you take the second turn. And yeah, and I think the double turn is like one of the most divisive things in this game, as far as like people like it or hate it. And I think they're trying to make it so it's like an interesting choice instead of, oh, I just take priority. And I think they've done a very good job of that so far. And as far as like battle tactics and like some of the mission incentives too. But I think this is just like another dial to turn that and make going second more interesting.
Yeah.
And I like
There's
that it's
certainly
not tied to points either. It's like tied to abilities.
yeah, that's the thing is I'm not sure going second is bad, but getting that double turn is really what can break the back of your opponent.
Right.
Um, I mean, we've had several games where it came down to, if you get a double turn, you destroy me, and if I get a double turn, I destroy you.
Mm-hmm.
So I like this idea of getting these extra things you can do if you get the second go in a turn. However, that also means if you get the second go in a turn and then you get the double turn right after that, it could backfire and be unintended with what Games Workshop wanted in the first place.
Right. Like they dialed it too much the other way.
Well, what I'm saying is you get that benefit of the double action or the 2 heroic actions instead of 1, and then you get the double turn on top of that. So the it could be more in that direction than they think, rather than trying to mitigate that effect.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Because it's not if you go second in a round. It has nothing to do with a double turn.
Right.
But going second in a round opens you up to a double turn. So that's what I'm getting at here.
Right. So like you will have like this bonus thing and then get the double turn.
Right.
Yeah. But then they'll have the bonus thing on your double turn.
Right, but it might be too little, too late, is what I'm getting at.
Right.
By the time that they get to actually do something.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about the 2 heroic actions we have before we dive into this a little more.
Absolutely.
I don't want to bury the lead on this. So, strike and opening is a Galatian champion within 3 inches of an enemy unit can fight if it not already fought in that phase, being the hero phase. But then it gains the strike blast effect until the end of the turn. And then there's lead by example, which is pick a Galatian champion that has a sworn bodyguard, which is part of a battalion later. And that unit is wholly within 6 of that champion, and within 3 inches of an enemy unit. The sworn bodyguard can fight. So basically, if you have that battalion and you go second, you get a combat phase with a hero and a unit before the enemy gets to do things. It's because heroic actions are at the beginning of the hero phase, and we actually had a game too where I was able to just snipe off and kill your Grayseer before
Yep.
he was able to cast spells on your turn, and that really changed your turn.
Absolutely. I actually thought I was going to have a decent turn, a workable turn.
Yeah.
It won the game right then and there.
Absolutely.
I want to ask a couple questions. Is this the first time in Warhammer history that you can attack out of turn?
No. There's actually in second edition there used to be a lot of sub factions that their special ability was fighting the hero phase.
Okay.
And they were considered the stronger ones. And there's a reason why they don't really exist anymore other than Daughters of Cain.
Okay. Because I want to say I really like. I don't have any experience with this, but I really like this idea here, is being able to attack out of turn. This mitigates the effect of a double turn. Being able to attack when your opponent gets a double turn can mitigate the effect that they can do with that double turn.
Right.
I wanted to ask. So this is a heroic action. You can do it on theirs, and they can do it on their turn. Is right? Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, you both get heroic actions. Yeah.
Okay. So who gets priority then? Let's say
The
the
person whose
turns.
turn it is gets heroic actions first.
Okay, they do a heroic action, and then the opponent gets to do a heroic action. Is that
Correct.
how it works?
Yep.
Okay.
So, like, if you know you're in a situation where they're gonna fight, you could find a tower to defend against it.
Or you could fight back yourself if you had something
But only the
in
person
place.
going second in the round can fight.
Only the.
Oh wait, no, that's not necessarily true. You can carry out
Yeah, yeah.
following heroic actions.
So that
Oh
player
yeah, you
will.
can't fight with the sworn bodyguard unless you're going second, because
Right. That's the big thing is you can attack with your hero, but not.
that's
Oh,
interesting.
or you can attack with your hero or the bodyguard, but the player going second in the round can attack with both
Correct.
on the second turn. Okay.
Yeah, that's my mistake. Yeah, but actually, yeah, that makes every like foot hero a rattlesnake. Not that they're like many of them are insane in combat. There's a few that are pretty good.
I have a very strong feeling that this is kind of a thing armies are going to be built, not necessarily building around, but you need to have a way to take advantage of these two heroic actions in your armies. That's my feeling for the season. And the reason being is you're basically, if you don't have a way to take advantage of this, you're missing out on attacks. I mean, you're going to use your heroic action to maybe get a command point half the time,
Yeah.
or none of the time if you roll like me.
Yeah.
So making your army being able to do this, it just seems good to me. And with that, if you have the Galician champion, you may as well get the Galician the sworn bodyguards as well.
Right.
So that's my feeling for the season is that the dominant armies are going to have one or two ways of activating these two actions every turn.
Right. And I guess like a lot of armies would have a foot hero that can just use the strike at an opening, fight in the hero phase. But like,
Yeah.
a lot of lists are like your foot heroes are like wizards with one or two attacks, so you're not really getting much out of it.
So I guess it's the sworn bodyguard then that you want with
Yeah.
with those champions.
But there are some armies that have decent fighting heroes. Like I would say Nighthaunt's one of them. I know a lot of their powers in the charge, but there's
Right.
still heroes there that are like 4 attacks, 3s -1, 2 damage. That's okay for a wizard. That's pretty good for a wizard even, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or like
The other thing too is like this is some armies you can retreat and charge, right?
Yeah.
So you could attack with your sworn bodyguard, retreat in the movement phase, and then charge in the charge phase, right?
Correct. You'd still have strike last, but you could do that.
Right.
Or even
So if you have like some armies also have like impact effects on charging that you'll be able to attack in you might actually be able to kill something that would otherwise crack back at you because of this extra attack in the hero phase.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I think there's also the potential too of the thing was going to be able to retreat from you, but it doesn't fly, and then you being able to pile in the movement phase or in the hero phase would stop them from being able to retreat in the movement phase.
right. Oh, that's the other thing. You pile in, so you get extra movement as well at a turn. Yeah, this I think you can't ignore this.
No.
I think every army needs to consider these two heroic actions.
And do you think armies
Certainly
that don't have heroes that can really fight that well are going to be disadvantaged by this in the season?
I'm not sure. As long as you have, because it's the sworn bodyguard can also take the place of the hero.
Right.
The hero needs to be in position to allow that, but you don't need to have a strong hero that can fight necessarily.
But I think even like if you're going first, there's going to be some real power plays with it's fighting with some like thinking about like orcs for example. They have a foot hero that's 8 attacks, 3s -1, 2 damage. And like even if you're going first, you're probably going to like strike at an opening more than a command point for that kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Especially when they also have a way to triplicate. Like, oh yeah, the mega boss can issue the same command 3 times in a turn with only 1 point being spent. so they don't really need the command points either, and then they can just take
Yeah.
advantage of being able to hit.
Well, so they can issue all out attack in the hero phase for the strike at the opening or the lead by
No,
example.
because it has to be issued in the combat or shooting phase.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's a good point. Let's talk about that. So this is the other thing: is all out attack and all out defense can't be issued in the heroic phase.
Right.
So the other thing is the other thing too is spells that last until the hero phase wear off at the start of the hero phase, correct?
Correct.
So this strike at the opening is also an opportunity where a unit that you're having trouble taking down because it's either buffed up or whatever the case may be,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden your Rend 1 or your Rend 2 might actually get a lot of more value because there's no Mystic Shield, there's no all-out defense, there's no some kind of like endless spell buff or whatever the case may
Or
be.
the blast for a 6-up ward.
Right.
Yep.
And so, well, the endless spell buff might still be up, but
Right. But a lot
but
of
like
them
a
go
like
away.
right, a lot of buff spells would be down. So that's the other thing is keep that in mind when you're looking at strike at the opening is like when these things fall off,
Yeah.
they can't be buffed up. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I think this is gonna be. I don't want to say format warping, but maybe defining.
Yeah, that's my feeling is
Which is
that
good.
you can't ignore this. This has such far-reaching effects that if you don't have a way of taking advantage of this, I think you're going to be at a disadvantage, a big disadvantage.
How much of a liability do you think is the strike last effect applies until your next turn?
So
Or
I
until
don't
the end of
think
the turn?
it's the way I see it is it's actually an extra attack with strike last because you're taking your attack that you would get in the combat phase, you're taking that attack in the hero phase.
Right.
And then you're getting an extra attack at strike last in the combat phase. That's how I would look at it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair. There's definitely a use case too where you do this fight in the hero phase, and then they know they can dogpile and fight with everything first against that unit. So it
Yeah.
might make them more vulnerable to a counterattack than they normally would be.
Well, no, because like I said, unless if it was a normal combat phase, they could still do the same thing. However, you're still down one attack.
Right.
So the idea is that attack you're taking in the hero phase, you might disable a unit that would otherwise do a lot of damage simply because you're able to attack at a turn when they're vulnerable.
Yeah, I think it's definitely overall better.
Yeah.
But I don't. My feeling is it's not quite going to be quite as good as basically double combat because I think you're going to lose a lot between the combat and the hero phase, and then
Yeah, I agree. It's not the same as double combat.
which is good.
Double combat is you attack and then you attack again with the same unit, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that's as an effect, that's a lot better.
Yeah.
But generally, I only see that like once per battle or something along those lines.
Yeah. Most armies don't have double combat. I think it's just Soulblight and Daughters of Cain right now.
And are those once per battle effects?
One of them's a spell, and the other one's a command ability. But the command ability is tied to a 700-point character.
Okay, so okay.
Who's actually very good, but still.
Is that Archeon?
Marathi.
Marath. Archeon's in a Slaves to Darkness, isn't
Yeah.
he?
And he has
Okay.
a command ability to fight on death. So kind of,
Okay.
but not quite. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. So I don't think the comparison between this and Double Fight is.
Court too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The Flesh Eater Chords.
Yeah.
Oh, I think you did that. If we had a game over Christmas, you were doing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
I don't think you should be comparing this to Double Fight though.
that's my point. I just want to get that out there. Yeah.
Yep. Because you could still do this, and then if that unit does strike last and he gets in a decent, you could then double attack with that unit again in that phase to get 3 attacks.
The core rule says you can only ever fight twice in a turn.
In a turn, okay, but not a phase.
Yeah.
Okay. What about things like Death Frenzy?
So basically, once you hit a chance to go to the third combat, you just won't instead.
Okay.
So
That's a good point to keep in mind with this. Now that every army is going to be able to do something with a double fight, armies that rely on that effect already, be careful, because you might hose yourself thinking you can get a third fight in and you can't.
Correct.
I didn't know that. That's a good point.
Double combats have been disappearing from the game. So a lot more armies had them, like Stormcast had them, Orcs had them, Nighthawk actually had them too, and all the new books that had them are gone. So I don't think they want double combat necessarily in the game. And then there's like units who have like a once per game ability that they fight, and the second fight it gets strike last, similar to this one.
Okay.
Right. So I think they realize that fighting is way too good.
Yeah, I mean, when you like I said, that game we had over Christmas, you're like, oh, you're gonna fight twice, aren't you? That's gonna kill me.
Yeah. Like, I'm fine with that going, but I did think overall, like, this is a very exciting reason to go second. I could see myself giving up the turn, knowing I have a very strong hero phase fight to cripple your turn.
Yep. Yeah, that's the thing. And then you get two, and then when you go, you get two heroic actions.
Yeah, and
on your turn.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
so you can
here too. Of, well, just don't charge the unit that's the sworn bodyguard. And sure, but if they don't do that and they're on something relevant, like this is a veritable rattlesnake too.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, I mean, whenever your army meets the enemy army, you just can't make, oh, they can't attack me. No, they're gonna find a way to attack you with something.
Exactly, that's the game.
and so you have a good point. Giving up first turn to maybe cripple their first turn, and then you get a double heroic action in your turn, with the potential for a double turn into the next round.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some long-term strategy in there, and I really like the idea of this, and I hope it plays out. It adds to the game rather than diminishes from it.
Right. And then another thing too is like if you went second, it's your turn, and you did this, and you get the strike last thing, and you're afraid of that, you can just fall back.
Yeah, in the movement phase, you just retreat.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's actually, yeah. You can attack and run and not even take a crackback.
Correct. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's actually that's probably, that might happen more than
anything else.
And more than anything else is attacking in the heroic phase with the sworn bodyguard or the hero,
right?
And then running that hero away in the movement phase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like this one because like you have to think on how to really get value out of it, but it's definitely there, right?
Yeah, and you're also thinking on your enemy's turn.
Yeah, so it's interactive.
Yeah, I like things you can do on both on in your opponent's turn and things you can do in your turn. It makes it feel less like you're playing like a computer or a one-player game.
Right.
There's interaction. There's things you can do, trying to trip each other up.
I'm excited to play with this a lot more too.
Yeah.
For that reason.
Okay. That might be enough on this. Strike the opening.
Into Adams, huh?
Yeah.
There's a lot to say there, but I think
this warps the game. Like it completely warps the game in just these two actions alone.
Oh yeah.
But there's more. There's more in this season too. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm. And then I think the next slide we have the Realm Sphere of Magic and the command. And do you remember what they were last season?
I don't know what the Realm Sphere Magic was. What was it?
Last season it had the amount of models a unit counted on as an objective.
And it didn't do any damage though?
If you charged a unit and you have more models in this unit than the enemy, roll the dice, and if you get a 6, they get strike last. Point is, nobody used either one of them much.
They seem pretty weak.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So I just wanted to compare last season's they had no impact, and I want to see how much you think these two will have an impact.
Well, off the bat, Grinding Teeth of Gallet.
Yeah, we'll go first for sure.
It's a slightly easy spell to cast at 6. You're gonna get it more than
range of 12.
Range of 12.
Pick an objective within range and visible to the caster. Then roll a dice for each unit within 6 inches, including allies. On a 4-up, that unit suffers D6 mortal wounds.
Yeah. So this is you're looking at like maybe 2 mortal wounds. It's like 1 3/4 on average dealing to each unit. And this is just a baseline spell. You might hit, so that's per unit. You might hit 2 or 3 units with this. So already you're looking at one spell causing upwards of 5 mortal wounds in total, which is pretty good for just one spell.
So I think there's the strategy of like somebody castles hard onto an objective in the middle. You know the
Right.
thing I do, right? And it's like hard to move them, and then this is just like an AOE spell that can pick it apart.
Yep. And that's the other thing is someone moving into the center, trying to control the center. It's hard. There's generally an objective in the center, so it's hard, it'd be hard to evade that objective and get the majority of your power to control the center in the first place.
Right.
Because if you want to just take this to the dome on everything, that's a lot of damage. So this is definitely, even just hitting one unit, a lot of times your caster is going to be like Mystic Bolt or whatever. This is probably just a straight up better spell than that.
Yeah.
In almost every situation.
I guess unless they're not on the point for some reason.
Yeah, unless they're not on the point. At which point, yeah, it could happen. The other thing to notice is that hits allies units, and later on we're going to discuss an army list of mine that will take advantage of this, hopefully.
Yeah. But it's good to know too, because you can't just like, because if you're like tied on the objective, you can't just use this to like do a bunch of damage to the enemy unit and hope your stuff doesn't get hit, right? I guess you can, but
well, you could if your army has a lot, like if you have 1 or 2 units with say they're horde units with high bravery, and the enemy has 2 or 3 horde units with low bravery,
then yes. Or they're like
yeah, you take the trade then, yeah, like
yeah.
you roll the dice and see what happens. I think there's still value trades you can make with the spell even if you're hitting yourself.
I think that's definitely true. But it's I don't think like I think what they're afraid of, like a situation where you're both tied on the objective and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna cast a spell that hits every enemy, right?
Right.
Which if you're like on equal value, that's not a good cast. But you're saying like there's situations where you can try to break parity of this.
Right. Even if you are hitting your own stuff,
Exactly.
You can still.
Yeah. Which is good. Another thinky rule.
Yep.
Which I like.
And I like a spell like this. Everyone's trying to take objectives. I guess there's some armies that don't care about it, but for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
So this is probably a spell you'll always be able to cast every turn, in most cases.
I think so. Yeah. It seems limited, but I don't think it is.
And at least as far as the Skaven go, that's my experience.
Mm-hmm.
This spell is better than a lot of War Scroll spells, like Warp Lightning on the Engineer or the Bombardier, for example.
Or take damage in addition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this one. I think it's cool. I think we'll see it a lot. And then
all right.
Realm Command. No retreat, no surrender. So you use this command at the start of the combat phase. The unit that receives this command must be a friendly unit that is not a hero or monster that did not charge in the same turn as within 3 inches of an enemy unit. You can't pile in, but you add 1 to the attack characteristic of all melee weapons used by that unit until the end of that phase, excluding mounts. So
this is a huge command.
It's a rattlesnake, right?
Yeah. There's actually I wanted to make a comment here with the strike last from, say, lead by example.
Yeah.
The hero phase combat.
Mm-hmm.
If the opponent is planning on piling in a lot of stuff to that unit, then that unit won't have to pile in when they get the strike last going.
Yep.
But they'll have an extra attack. So what this can do is it can disincentivize your opponent from attacking your sworn bodyguard that already attacked in the heroic phase, because they know if they can't do a lot of damage, that +1 attacks is going to be huge.
Yeah.
And they won't have to make a pile-in move because you've piled into them.
Yep.
I really like this command. I think this is going to work. The synergy here already with the heroic actions is pretty insane.
Which means
And
every
even
other
if
synergize with this, right?
right, and even like we'll take your stalker's army,
Mm-hmm.
give them an extra attack.
I lose a rend doing so, but I think one rend is worse than one attack in most cases.
They lose a rend. How would they lose a rend?
Because the command I use on them is an additional rend.
Oh, okay, okay.
But I'm fighting Nighthaunt. I don't care about the rend.
Well, what's their base attacks?
5 attacks each, and then the big
Oh,
sword 3
okay.
attacks.
5 attacks. So this isn't actually that good for them. They're only getting 20% more damage with
Right.
this command. The rend is probably better.
But I'm just thinking about like Graveyard for Soul Blight, for example. So usually of 20, they're 2 attacks each. 3s, 4s, -1, 2 damage. 6s are Mortal Wound in addition.
Yep.
And they're only
Well,
a 5 up save.
the 6s, adding 2 attacks just for rolling more 6s is pretty big.
Yep. And like all out defense isn't doing much for you anyway.
Yeah.
Because they're a 5 up save base, so they're gonna kill or they're not. And I think just one more attack is probably more worth it. On that
The other thing too. Oh, not a hero or a monster, so you can't. I was gonna point out like it's all the attacks of the unit.
Yeah.
Aren't there So what's the unit with like more than one attack profile?
A lot of them have mounts, and it says here that excludes mounts. I know there's like Slongor who are terrible, but they have 2 different attack profiles.
Okay.
But like your point
So
is
they would
like units that can abuse this.
right. What are units can actually get 2 extra attacks out of this rather than just one?
There might be a Daughters of Cain unit. But they have like a whip and a dagger.
Right.
Yeah. So they might be able to get something out of that. Yeah.
Sounds like that part of it probably won't happen all that often.
Yeah, I agree.
But still, getting +1 attacks as a command, pretty big.
Yeah.
Now, would this? So if you have because I know if you get like +1 to attack from a command, it doesn't stack with other things that give +1 to attack. Correct?
Well, a lot of the other +1 to attack things are like. I guess my graveyard situation from earlier was silly because Vampire Lord gives that command for +1
Right.
attack. But if you had like a spell that gave +1 attack and then you +1 attack from this, then yes, it would stack.
It would stack. Okay. Because I was thinking like Skaven Brew with Skaven.
That
would
stack
still.
here.
Okay.
Yep. So like you could get Storm Fiends with like Skaven Brew on them, and then I guess if you don't have the Claw Lord, you could do this. Which I guess that's a good point too, is it gives you freedom from those units that give the +1 attack.
Yeah.
Or it lets you put it in 2 different places.
Yeah, that's probably better to think of it because you could double up. The Claw Lord could. Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
Giving the command to 2 different things. The Claw Lord also has. Can't the Claw Lord give this command? No, they're enumerated in his War Scroll. What commands he can give.
Yeah.
But there are units that can give the same command more than once. Correct?
I gotta read the wording on like the Maw Crusher and Mega Boss from Orcs, because they can do that, yes. But I don't.
So they would be able to give this no retreat, no surrender to multiple things in their army if that's
yes.
If that tracks.
I gotta double check that because I'm not sure if it's like a set list of commands they're allowed to do, like
right, or if it's just a general rule.
Yep. So I want to run over to that real quick. Mega Boss. But that's like the only unit I can think of that does that. There might be another one too. Yeah, this unit can issue the same command up to 3 times in the same phase. Okay, so it can issue this 3 times.
Yep. So that's an orc.
Yes.
That might be fun.
Yeah. Especially when you have like. Oh, actually, brutes might have multiple profiles too. Speaking of guys that have multiple profiles to benefit from.
Okay, so the orcs might really like this no retreat, no surrender.
You can see it.
I guess that's very fitting and flavor wise too with the orc.
Yeah,
right?
the thing
No
that
retreat.
beat the shit out of it can use the thing to beat the shit out of things. The best. Yeah, makes sense. It's a good ability though.
I really like I like both the spell here and I like this command as well.
I think I'm gonna get a lot of mileage out of this personally.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, especially like in Nighthawk, like my whole strat, one of my big strategies, like the Unit 9 Spirit Hosts on the middle point and dare you to move it.
I I will say so far it seems um the season is kind of putting a bend towards melee.
Yes,
Would you agree with that?
I think so for sure. Because every rule benefits melee, and
Right.
it's incentivized the shooting so far.
Well, and what we've seen so far is that foot heroes, if they're within an inch of battle line, can't be targeted by missile weapons already.
That's what I meant. Yeah,
So
the disincentivized. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Uh, so shooting armies, um, they're not getting any love yet in this season.
Not yet. And I guess we'll talk about the battalions next. So I think we're good here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we can move on.
And then, so let's talk about the Galatian command first. So that's the thing we are talking about, like the units fighting in tandem in the hero phase. It's this battalion lets you do it, and it's one hero with it's one Galatian champion, which is the hero 10 wounds or less and not mounted, and then infantry, which is unit with a wounds characters of 4 or less, not a leader, artillery, or behemoth, and does not have mounts. So Galatian veterans from last season.
Yep.
And so
They become that
you do.
infantry becomes the sworn bodyguard, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And then they get fight in tandem when you fight normally, too. So
Question.
yes.
Say you fight, you use what is it called? This is actually maybe a way to bypass the strike last. So use the command or the heroic action, lead by example. Your sworn bodyguard fights and gets strike last.
Yes.
And then the battalion strike in tandem, your hero fights, and then the Galician champion or the sworn bodyguard fights right away, correct?
Correct. One
So you
problem
would
with
actually
that,
you would bypass the strike last then.
the hero gets strike last for fighting in the hero phase too, though.
No, you don't fight with the hero, you just fight with the sworn bodyguard in the hero phase.
I believe the way it's written is that you have to, lead by example. Pick one Galatian champion that has a sworn bodyguard unit and that just carried out the strike at an opening heroic action.
Okay.
So you have to do strike at an opening in order to do lead by example.
Okay, so they thought about this then.
Yeah. But normally, if you fight in tandem and a unit has strike last, you could pull a unit out of strike last to fight in tandem.
Right.
But yeah, they thought about it here.
So okay, so there's no way of okay, so if you had strike last from some other effect then. Or rather, if your sworn bodyguard had strike last, but your Galician champion did not, then you could pull them out of strike last and still fight. Okay, so there are some armies that give up that basically they do something but at the cost of striking last. Is that right?
Yeah, or like Nighthawk gives out strike last. I think slaves can do it too.
Okay, and then you can use United on Purpose to mitigate that.
Yeah. Or if there's a way to give your foot hero strike first.
Then you give your sworn bodyguard strike first.
Correct.
All right, that's cool. I really like that.
Yeah. It's synergy, yeah. I like it a lot. I think it's powerful. And I think I'm gonna have one of these in almost every list I build.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is like there's so much support for this Galician champion and then the sworn bodyguard. If you're finding a way to get your champion into the action, you may as well get a sworn bodyguard in there as well, and get another set of attacks.
Absolutely. Yeah. Next battalion, I want to talk about this and then come back here for a second. But
sure.
Galatian sharpshooters is 3 infantry units. You have to have 3, but it lets those infantry ignore the key to victory rule, which means that the Galatian champion can't be shot within an inch of a battle line. So they just go back to normal shooting rules. And I think this is the counterplay to the Galatian command. Because I think they probably played a version of this game, right? And then they had the Galatian command going, and then, I have to shoot that dead or else I'm in trouble. and the game
Yep.
just became about shooting the thing dead. So that's probably where the key to victory came in to protect them. But having an opportunity cost here of like you can shoot the heroes, but you give up your one drop, which is traditionally what shooting armies really like to have.
Right.
So you have to choose between like choosing the turn priority or being able to deal the Galatian command easier.
The other thing too is there's no requirement for these infantry to have ranged attacks.
Yeah. So if you only
So
have
one of them could be a ranged attack infantry, and the other two could just be, two sets of zombies or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I look at it as a cost rather than a mistake.
I agree.
A cost, like a rules cost of, if you want to be able to bypass that you can't target the enemy Galatian champion, then you have to set up 3 units at least, or at 3 units into the sharpshooter, even if only one of them has a ranged attack.
And like I can imagine a world too where it's like you need 1 to 3, and it's like okay, I'm a 2-drop now, and my sniper unit is this sharpshooter.
Yep,
No,
and then
heavy
you just kill
penetration.
their big time Galatian champion right away.
Yep.
The This is where I cheated and I put my storm fiends as sharpshooters.
Yeah, and I missed that too. So oops,
Yeah.
because they're not infantry. But also like stops things from like warp lightning cannons from going haywire on enemy heroes.
Yeah, well, they can't even be put into sharpshooters either.
Correct. But like
I
I think it's the right choice of like infantry can do it. It makes sense. But like my OBR catapult that's just doing 5 damage with 3 shots.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you happen to fail a save, I kill your hero. Cool. Like the best sniper in the game's a fucking catapult.
Well, the Jezzails. So the Jezzails, which are lore-wise the snipers and the sharpshooter, they're artillery units. They can't actually be put into the Galatian sharpshooters.
What the hell is that? It's like I can't seem to hit this guy with my sniper rifle, and then the guy with the orbs like, yeah, I got it. I don't know why they're artillery. That's so weird to me, but I don't know.
Yeah, they probably ran into this issue before with them.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's just make them artillery so to insulate from future problems with that unit.
Probably would be a great sharpshooter if they could be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, like, and we'll get into this when we start looking at the strategies or the battle tactics.
Yeah.
We'll make some comments that basically, if you don't have enough Galatian champions, you'll be at a disadvantage, and being able to snipe your enemy's champions will put them at that disadvantage. So it's my take is it's going to be a pretty big deal to be able to snipe enemy Galatian champions early on in a battle.
Yeah, which point I wanted to bring about before. I think the best Galatian commands are going to be units with built-in bodyguard, like a pass off the wound on a 3-up or 4-up, that kind of thing.
Yep, because then it will still affect the sharpshooters.
Yeah. So I think those kind of units are going to be very powerful, like Spirit Hosts, Master Clan, like Storm.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing is like even if your Galatian champion isn't that good in melee,
yeah,
but if they have defensive abilities like the ability to pass off wounds, they can bring a strong melee unit in with Galatian command and lead by example.
Yep.
And get them to attack in their stead, basically. So even if you can't find a strong melee foot hero, being able to get a strong melee unit into the action still might be a strong option for that army.
Like I'm almost thinking about doing Necromancer as my Galatian command hero just because it has the 3-up bodyguard.
Yeah.
And like it doesn't do anything, but it's safe. And, like the Vampire Lord is good in combat, but it's if like sharpshooter becomes a thing, it's gonna get sniped.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so then you lose the whole benefit of the Galatian command in the first place.
Yeah. I think Claw Lord's gonna love this too, because you can just like decide to take some damage, get him some extra attacks, and then be like,
and then pass off the rest.
Yeah. That's gonna be cool. Alright. And then the last one is called Galatian Veterans. and it has the Bonds of Battle rule from last season, where you can fight basically in two ranks if you're within a half inch of a half inch. And I really like that rule because one of the biggest time wasters in this game is measuring out 2 inch range to 30 different units. And you can just pile in and put the bases touching, and you're good.
So the way this works is if I have a unit that's attacking something within half an inch
Yep.
of that target, and then I have another model in that unit that's out of range completely of the thing I'm attacking. However, it's in with half an inch of that first model, then it can still target that same target, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Which is why the stalkers are insane now, is because they had the Bonds of Battle with their 1 inch weapons. So where 5 or well them would be able to fight before, and now all 9 can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when I was saying like I don't think they're gonna be as good next season because they're gonna lose that rule, and then it's right here. They did lose Expert Conquerors, which was huge on them. Like counting as 9 versus 27 is a
Right.
big difference on that unit, but the damage is still there.
Yeah.
So I think it's good that it's an opportunity cost. So I think it is actually like secretly a big damage buff.
Well, yeah. So some of those units that have like 50-inch base or 50 millimeter base models,
Mm-hmm.
they're hard to find an in
Yeah.
to get everything attacking.
Yeah.
So I mean, like you point out, instead of 5, all
Mhm.
9 are going to be hitting the same thing.
That's almost double.
That's almost double. Yeah, it's 80% increase in damage output, and that's huge.
Yeah.
And that's before any commands are issued, any spells are cast, any other buffs. It's just by virtue of being in this particular battalion.
And I wonder how hard it is to take both Galatian veterans and sharpshooters.
So it's looking like at least 5, and you want a Galician command as well, right?
You usually do, I think. Yeah.
So you need 6 infantry units. Maybe armies are going to have an infantry bend this season.
I think. I think the armies that tilt into that are just like screens, right?
Yeah.
And like if you're doing like a bunch of small screens, Galatian veterans does not get you anything.
Well, I guess you could have, so your Galician sharpshooters, you have your one decent infantry ranged unit,
Yeah.
and then 2 screens in that, and that's your screen.
Yeah.
They don't have to like stick together on the field.
Right.
That's just they just happen to be in the same battalion.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But like, so you have that. And like, how many hammer units can you bring if you're also bringing like a Galatian champ, a command? Probably like 3 other heroes with a command entourage because we'll see with the battle tactics, you need a lot of foot heroes to score them.
So the hammer might be you might have 2 hammer units in your Galician veterans.
Yeah. So
2
I think
hammer
very specific lists
infantry.
can swing it, right?
Say again?
I think very specific lists can swing it, but I don't think
Yeah, like there's no melee hammer for Skaven, for example, would be.
I guess Gamer doesn't care about this because you have 3 inch range most of the time anyway, yeah?
Right, they do, but I'm just trying to point out that I don't think Skaven have a melee hammer
Right.
infantry unit, so that's at least one army that doesn't have it. But you're right, they don't care about Bonds of Battle either.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I'm trying to think of an example of like something that would have shooting units and range or melee units that would need Galatian veterans. Maybe ogres, but they're 2 inch range. So there's like a very specific set of units that are 1 inch range, like Slaves to Darkness, Chaos Warriors, 32 millimeter. Well, then
Right.
you still only get 1 rank. This will give you 2 ranks, but you don't have
There we
shooting
go.
units, so you don't need sharpshooters either. I can't
Okay,
think of an army that has shooting and units like that.
that would need Bonds of Battle.
Correct.
That might be the case. So
Yeah.
I don't know what that means for the season. That
Yeah.
there's probably not one army that can take advantage of both of these battalions.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the army that can might be strong.
Exactly. And there like might be one out there.
Yeah.
But I guess even if you don't need it, like you can probably still sneak more attacks in and like do tricky stuff by like just corner piling. Like ogres have 2 inch reach, right? And they're on 40 millimeter bases, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And like they would just be able to reach if you charged in full commit anyway. But you might be able to like charge and only have like one guy in combat, and then get all four of the things to fight, and then minimize what they can pile in back against you.
Right, and
So I
that's
don't think
also
they can abuse
they could
it.
also reach they could reach other units that forces them to be in melee as well.
Yes.
So you have you have that option.
Yeah, so it might be
Yeah,
even
I
better too for that reason.
yeah, that's probably pretty good. Give anything that gives you options for movement without restricting your damage or anything like that.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I think the better player you are, the more you can get out of this, like um, appreciably than other options of the game.
Yeah. And I don't know, but I don't think any of these are like drastically too far in power level. So I remember reading Bounty Hunters and being like, "Oh, that's gonna be a problem immediately."
Yeah, I mean that's just +1. That like
Yeah.
doubles the damage of a lot of units.
And there's no tack
Uh,
involved to it, like playing it well either, right?
right.
It's just
You
like
just
this thing's double damage.
you
Have fun.
just do more damage.
But I remember I saw the leaks for that. Like, there's no way that's real, and it wasn't. But like, it's like, yeah, that's definitely fit. Yeah, but like, I don't get like this off kilter feeling, right?
No, what this reads to me is um all three of these is you have to know what you're doing with your army to really take advantage of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. I like that a lot.
I agree.
It's not just straight up, here's more damage. It's not just straight up, you move more or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like we point out with Bonds of Battle, like a unit, even if they don't really benefit from it, you can still take it, and now it opens up the option of making your pile in wider for more of a screen or more of a tying up the enemy.
Yeah, and it wasn't immediately obvious to us. Like, we had to talk it out and then figure it out.
Right,
Yeah.
and so United in Purpose, you can get around strike last in some cases, or you can get the benefit of strike first on your sworn bodyguard
Yeah.
if your hero has it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Excellent.
so I don't know. I like all three of these battalions.
Yeah, none of them seem egregious, and I think. What I think Galatian Command is probably going to be a very hot pick, and Bonds or Galatian Veterans are going to be a lot of lists. And then the value of sharpshooters is going to come up and really start bullying the Galatian Command.
Yeah, I think this is for the armies that don't have strong melee options,
Yeah.
but are decent shooters. So you don't feel like, oh, I can't do anything now.
And then
My opponent is gonna barrel in with that sworn bodyguard unit and the Galician champion, and I can't do a damn thing about it.
and now they have
This
something.
is
Yeah.
now they have something to do, and you got to like pick your timing correctly to take out that
It's
Galician
almost be a
champion.
weird rock paper scissors too. I think of like the Galatian Command army that can barrel through things, the sharpshooter that can put it down, and then they're probably gonna have one truck like struggle in like the mirror match where the enemy has a one drop and they don't.
So here's a question. There's an endless spell, the Palisade. What's it called?
Prismatic Palisade,
Prismatic Palisade, and then there's the lore spell, the Mist.
Ghost Mist.
So what I'm getting at here with the Galician sharpshooter, what we discussed earlier is there might only be actually one ranged unit in that battalion.
Yeah.
But that ranged unit is now extremely high value because it can take out your Galician champion.
Mm-hmm.
Do those spells get more value because instead of trying to prevent every shooter from your opponent from hitting you, you only have to look at preventing one shooter from hitting your army
Absolutely.
or hitting your champion.
Yeah. Like one unit stopping hitting one unit, like that's pretty good. That you
Right.
Yeah, you have a pretty good job of stopping that.
So I mean, maybe if your army is afraid of a sharpshooter, you might consider running. I don't know about the Palisade; that's kind of a commitment. But
yeah, and the range is great on it. Yeah,
the Mist might be something to look at if you're worried about your foot hero getting sniped.
yeah, and so like that's a cool thing too. Is like there's even counterplay against the sharpshooter thing, right?
Right.
Which is good. It's not like here's a powerful thing. Oh, and here's the rule to like circumvent that. But like I think when you don't have to worry about sharpshooters, you can be very like obnoxious about your Galatian command. And when sharpshooters are out, you just have to be careful, but you can still beat it. You don't have to like
Right. You have to move them right.
you don't lose to it, right? But
Right.
it's an actually quite powerful pin piece, like sharpshooters in a way.
Yep.
But it's not like an "oh I win" button either, which is good.
Yeah, because it's not killing the champion. It's just keeping him in check.
Correct.
Unless you just run him in and let him die, then of course
But
it
that's
is
not
killing.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think overall 3 very strong, fun battalions. Nothing seems out of bounds. But like I think it's interesting, and I think there's going to be a lot of cool play patterns around these. And like I like they're all like an ability. It feels like, right? Like I could see a version of the core rules of the game where like it's not like an exception in this season where you can't be shot if you're near battle line. Because like that's the core rule in 40k.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But then like if you think of it as like a core rule, it's like these are 3 like abilities you pick for.
Well, that's
And I
yeah,
like
they're
that.
certainly a lot more interesting than the core battalions.
Yes, exactly.
Because I don't know, these actually feel meaningful. The core battalions don't.
It's like one
Uh,
drop is very good. If you don't want a one drop, you can command entourage or warlord entourage if you happen to have the unit left over.
yep.
And the rest are like, I guess.
Yeah, I think I've had like Vanguard before for the free at the double,
Yeah.
and I like completely forget to use it.
Yep.
Or it's like there's never really a time to use it either, so it's just completely wasted.
Exactly. And it's just like these are like abilities.
Yeah.
Like being a sniper or like fighting in the hero phase. Or like
Well, that's
more
so
range.
far the season has done a really good job at like hammering in the Galician champion is something to be concerned with
Yes.
on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of these things, well, except the veterans, the Galician veterans, but they all affect that. And so as a player, you're gonna have to be very aware of all of these options available to both sides.
But I think it's meaningful too that like I can't take a unit of Necropolis Stalkers as a Galatian command and have it be as impactful as in Galatian veterans too, right?
Right.
Because they're suffering from the range problem, and I can't do both. So there's like actually an opportunity cost.
Right. So you have to figure out what else to be in the Galician command if you want the Buns of Battle for the Stalkers.
Yep. Probably a Mortis Guard, save the bodyguard. Or maybe just a bunch of Mortec Guard. Like here's a brick of 30 of these things. I'll fight in the hero phase, and then I'll reroll saves.
And then I'll fight
Nice,
last in
nice,
the combat phase.
Okay, actually, there's something there. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, it's an extra attack or
Yeah.
an extra fight.
That's
I
true.
would look at it as an extra fight last because that's what happens last, rather than an extra fight.
But it's more damage.
It's more
It's
damage,
more
yeah.
movement. And it can disrupt casters, like we saw. Or it can disrupt anything.
So
Like, if
we
you need a
talked
unit
about
to,
this.
Like, run away and get a point, and then I kill that unit. You're like, oh shit, right?
Yeah, if you like kill something, they're taking an objective. You kill that unit in their hero phase, and now they have nothing on that side of the board to take that. Let's say they were holding the objective because they had a somewhat weak unit, but their plan was to retreat from combat to hold the objective for that turn, and then you would kill them on that unit on your turn.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you kill that unit on their turn. They don't get the point. They don't get the objective, and you can then do something else with that unit on your turn.
Yeah.
So, like I said, there's so many branching like thoughts on that whole thing
Mm-hmm.
that I'm excited. I'm excited to see what it brings to the game.
Me too. And like this is one I want to like rewatch again, like 6 months later and do a retro and see what we got right and wrong.
See what?
Be awful, right?
Nobody's
so
using Galician command.
Yeah. exactly. I don't know, but I think it's
Sharpshooters just rule the battlefield. You know,
yeah, they
maybe we
like the
come back.
Galician commands to extinction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oops. But I'm curious. I have a feeling it's harder to set up than we said at first. But like it's still a good enough rattlesnake that it's gonna get value even if it never happens in the game. So
Yeah.
people are gonna be afraid to walk into it. And that's good value already. Anyway.
I was gonna say something about uh but I lost my train of thought, so maybe it'll come back.
Right.
Something about the Galician veterans,
Okay.
but we can move on.
Alright.
It's
If it comes up, just interrupt me.
yep.
And then one more thing we got here is unique enhancements from this season. And it's 3 relics that can only go on Galatian champions, and then 3 things called aspects. We'll go over the relics first. I'll read them all out, and then we can talk about which ones we like. So the Tusk Helmet is the bearer can make a charge, and then you roll a number of dice equal to the charge roll, and each 4-up is a mortal wound to something at charge within 1 inch. And it says like if the bearer already has an ability with a charge trigger, you can't do both. You have to choose that or the helmet. So it's just like some mortal wounds on the charge. Night Flare Cloak is during deployment, instead of setting up this hero on the battlefield, you can set it up on a reserve, and you can deep strike it within 1 inch of a friendly battle line and outside of 9 of enemy. And then the last one's Griff Feather Charm, which is the bear has a 5-up board. Real quick though, right? The Griff Feather Charm has a little bit of like history to it that you probably don't know about. There's a relic called Amulet of Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
It gives a 6-up board to the hero now, but it used to give a 5-up board, and you could put it on anyone.
Okay.
And
Was that really good?
The only thing anyone took.
Okay.
Because you have like, for example, like Vampire Lords on Zombie Dragons, like 14 wounds, 3-up save, 5-up board now.
Yeah. So you give them an extra 30% more wounds basically.
Yeah. And there's like videos going on. It's like 33% equals 50% equals. Like,
yeah. So yeah, you increase their effective HP by 50%. Yep.
Yep. Exactly. And now think about this on a hero that's a giant that has 35 wounds.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
So, well, even like what was it was Archeon? You need like an effective 200 damage or something.
Probably not any. Maybe now, but like in the old book, when he was like a 2-up save re-rolling, and then you could ignore like Ren 3 with him if you put all the buffs there.
Right.
Yeah, you needed like 200 damage 1 attacks to kill him.
Yeah. So and would this have made that even like 300?
Yeah, probably.
But
now he's 25 wounds with a 5-up ward, but he doesn't re-roll saves, so.
Okay, well he already has the ward then, so he wouldn't. He's also probably not a Galician champion. So these relics of Galat are only.
Not right.
These relics of Galat are only available for Galician champions.
Correct.
Okay.
So like a teleport, or like you deploy him off the board, then you put him on later, and then like impact charges on the impact hits on the charge. You taking any of these? You think? Over
probably the Griff Feather Charm in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
I would like to put together a like an ambush army, and the Night Flare Cloak might turn something that wouldn't be able to do that otherwise and make them fit into that army, which is interesting because if your army does have that capability, your battle tome, you could pick a Galician champion that wouldn't fit into that theme, and all of a sudden with the Night Flare Cloak, he now fits in that theme.
Yeah.
So there's some options there, for sure. The Tusk Helm, I haven't played a lot of Skaven armies that require charging. I'm sure it's fine. I don't have experience to really say if it's good or not.
I think it's fine is the best way to put it. But I don't think you're taking this that often. Ever. I don't know.
So
I'm more intrigued by Arcane Tome. I'm more intrigued by Night Flyer Cloak. I'm not so into the Griff Feather Charm because I have 6-up boards on a lot of my armies, but
right.
Maybe in Sylvaneth I would really like that.
Yeah.
But like I think Night Flyer Cloak will have a lot of scoring potential tied to it. And I can see something in Night Hunt where I pick up 3 units, and then I have Guy in Deep Strike, and then I do Tunnel Master from the next list, and I can just move 5 units anywhere on the board.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see that being extremely powerful. And then like a hero has a spell to teleport, so I can move 6. Yeah.
Wasn't there an army? It was like some player had an army that could rush really far, really fast in a turn, and the other player had an army that deployed everything in ambush and reserve.
Mm-hmm.
And that one player went first and just kind of like made it so that there was no 9-inch zone that the other player could deploy in.
Yeah.
And just won the game, correct?
Yeah. I forget the exact matchup, but yeah. I think there was something like that. Yeah.
That's funny.
But like you can deny a lot of space that way too.
Yeah, that's the thing is 9 inches is a huge, and you have to set up the entire unit. So a lot of times if you're like 11 inches from a corner, you're still negating that entire zone there.
Yeah. Because you like have to measure the size of the unit, right?
Yeah.
Let's say it's like a unit of 10 on like 40 millimeter bases. Like you can like basically measure the footprint this thing could have. And then just like add that to the inches away from the board edge you have to be.
Yep. And it can make it very difficult to use that. So if you are using the Night Flare Cloak,
yeah,
this is probably a more advanced player. This whole ambush and reserve unit is definitely for more advanced players in the game.
I agree.
I would like to try it at some point, but I'm nowhere near to say.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
And I just think of the Tusk helmet, it's like, so your average charge is 7.
So you're rolling 7.
Half damage, huh?
So you're rolling 7 dice.
Yes, and each 4 up. And it's like, I mean, that's basically what ogres do now. Like every unit has that ability, and it's good. This the whole army has it.
But this might be decent in some Skaven armies with 3 claw steps ahead.
Yeah, I can see that. Oh, like
you
get a 10, and you're like, all right, cool.
Right. So you roll with some dummy unit first that doesn't have the Tusk Helm. Try to fish out like a 10 on that roll, and then use that roll for the unit that does have the Tusk Helm.
Yeah.
Might actually be kind of decent then.
Yeah, I don't think a few mortal wounds here and there is worth like a 5-up board, for example, right?
Right.
I don't see it.
Well, the other thing is Skaven have the Scurry Away where they can retreat and charge.
Yeah.
So you could get repeated uses out of this Tusk Helm. Maybe it is better than I'm giving it credit for.
I don't think it's great. And there's great.
Yeah.
Is all.
Right.
It's the least good of the 3 in my opinion.
Right. I agree on that.
I think we beat this to death. We can go to the next.
All right. Yep, we can move on.
I think this one we're gonna have a little bit of disagreement on which ones are our favorite, but I'm excited. We have Tunnel Master, which I always call Tunnel Bunny. I know that's not mature, but it makes me laugh. Yeah, Tunnel Bunny. Once per game, instead of picking this Galatian champion to make a normal move, you can remove it from the battlefield and set it up again on the battlefield more than 9 inches from all enemy units. Fueled by Gurish Rage. Paraphrasing here, but when he dies on a 3-up, he stops dying instead. But basically, on a 3-up, he goes to D3 wounds allocated, or healed, and then you ignore the rest of the damage he takes in that sequence.
Yeah.
So if a guy has 1 wound left, they do 7 damage. He dies, he heals D3 instead, and then ignores the rest of the damage.
Yep.
Yeah. Stubborn as a Rhinox. This champion counts as 10 models for the purpose of an objective. There are no enemy Galatian champions contesting the same objective. And then Leadership of the Alpha. Once per battle, this champion can issue one of the following commands up to 3 times. Rally, all-out attack, all-out defense, or redeploy. And you don't spend points the second or third time. My favorite one here is, I think, Tunnel Master, and then a very close second is Stubborn as a Rhinox.
I like leadership. I like Leadership of the Alpha.
Yeah, I can see that.
Probably Stubborn as a Rhinox, given that there's the tactics where you need to have a Galatian champion to score.
Yeah.
Stubborn as a Rhinox is probably going to be pretty big. again, Tunnel Master is like, you know what? It's probably pretty good.
Well, remember that one
It's
game
like a
we played?
free. It's like a free. Well, it's not quite as good as Skitter Leap because you don't move.
Right.
But you could. Well, you could Skitter Leap something in and then they tunnel back after they cast some spells.
Yeah.
If you don't want to tie them to a gnaw hole.
Well, remember, like, I just got the battle tactic on you that one game because I could teleport.
Yeah.
Like, in my head, most of the time, this is just 2 victory points. Or
Yeah, I
battle.
guess you're right. I guess if you look at all the tools you have available in your army, and you look at those tools, this tool is going to get me this tactic, this tool is going to get me this tactic,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth down the list. You could score like probably a full 5 points every turn.
Yeah.
And Tunnel Master is certainly one that will get you probably one of the harder tactics. Like you need to like hold something on their territory with a Galician champion.
I'm actually finding that a lot of my lists, my enhancement is one of these instead of an artifact or spell or.
Right. One thing to point out with these unique enhancements is every army gets one of these for
Yes.
free. This
Yep.
is just part of the season.
Which is
This
cool.
isn't in instead of like a command trait or another artifact. This is in addition to it.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So you always have one of these. And I think Stubborn of Orinox, I think it might read better than it actually is. Because if your opponent's going out of their way to put champions on all the points, it might not ever mean anything.
Well, if they throw a champion on something on like their corner where there's no action otherwise.
Yeah.
You put Stubborn as a Rhinox on one of your foot heroes that's like not that great, but clearly better than their foot hero.
Oh,
and not necessarily kill it. You just out count it on that point, and they can't move it. So as long as it's more durable than their Galician champion, they'll never take that point off you.
You don't count as 10 anymore.
What's that?
So if they have a Galician champion on the point, you don't count as 10 anymore.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I
because
didn't
otherwise,
read
exactly what you're saying is like, yeah, like mono a mono. I'm counted as 10. You count as 2. Fucking sumo wrestle me out of this. What are you gonna do?
All right, so I guess it would have to be like a mounted champion then, or a mounted hero that isn't good in combat, I suppose.
I think what this is gonna really be good at is like punishing. Like, you know the crap I do with chain rats where I put them like barely on the point.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's mine now. You have to come get it. And you're like, I'm gonna just put my guy like
barely on the point as well.
Yeah. And like 2 other guys and like eat shit. Right? Like
I guess this gives you the option to take a point without committing to the point.
Yes, exactly.
Now if they want to move a champion in, then they're committing and you have the choice. Well, do I then meet them on the point or do I run away? So yeah, I like this a lot. I like Stubborn as a Rhinox.
Yeah. And then Fueled by Garish Rage is the resurrect one. I can see like the appeal of that. Like I want to put it right on top of my like the Galatian command unit. So in case he ever gets killed, I have a chance of just making sure he's safe.
This might get more value if as the season goes on the play tends towards sharpshooters.
Yes.
This one might end up being you have to take this to survive a turn or 2.
Yeah. I don't like that it's not like reliable, but I think it's a good enough effect to be okay with that.
Yeah, so 2/3 of the time it works.
Yeah.
Not bad, but it's certainly not great either.
So there's an orc unit, and like his ability is he has like a staring contest with you basically, and he rolls dice, and on a 4-up you take damage, and on a 1, 2, 3 he takes damage.
Okay.
You can do this as many times as you want. So one of my friends who's like an orc player, his idea is like, I want to put this on the Wargog Prophet who does that, and if I die, I just resurrect, and then like next turn I can still do it.
Wait. Hold on. You said you can do that as many times as you want, right?
Correct.
Until something dies, or even after something's dead?
I think until something dies, yeah.
Okay, because I was gonna say, even if you take like 100 wounds,
It's not
at the end of that entire sequence, even if you take 100 to deal 10 to them
Yeah.
to kill them, well, you ignore the remainder that would kill you. So it's just a free kill once per, well, 2/3 of the time it's
And
a
I think
free
the way it
kill.
would work too is, let's say you take the 3 damage back, you die and you come back, and then
Mm-hmm.
you choose to repeat it. It's a different sequence, so you won't negate that damage.
Right. I was just saying like the whole sequence at once.
Right.
The damage is tallied up, and
Mm-hmm.
then when you're done doing the rolling, that's when the damage is dealt.
Mm-hmm.
I was asking if that's really how it
Oh no, no, no!
works.
It's one at a time.
Okay.
Yeah. So my bad. But I think that's like consistent enough. Like I think you can build for this, and like I'm gonna get greedy with this ability because I can. Right.
How much HP how many wounds does that orc have?
I think 6.
Okay, so I mean, with fueled by Gersh Rage, I mean we could run the stats. Not right now. It's kind of it
Yeah, it
sounds
takes
like a
time.
pretty difficult
Yeah.
combinatorics problem, but you're much better than 50% 6v6, and it's probably like 50% at 6v7 or 6v8
Yeah.
with fueled by Gersh Rage.
Mm-hmm.
So anything like 6v5 is almost certain that you're gonna kill
Okay.
that unit.
Makes sense. But I see this one having value too. But I'm not sold on this one being my favorite, but I can see it. But I think you're right. Like I think the best plan is like if sharpshooters become dominant, this is like the
Then
insurance
this
policy for it.
right.
And then leadership of the alpha. I tried this one and I found it was like hard to use properly or like super effectively.
What I see is this triple redeploy.
Yeah, you get a lot
Um,
of movement.
you get a lot of movement on their turn.
Yeah,
Uh, I'd like to try that out, see if how that works. Because
I only
being
have
like
3 games, so maybe I
what's
just
that?
didn't. I only have 3 games of this season under my belt, so maybe I didn't do it right. I think there's a lot more that I could do with this, but I think the redeploy is the biggest power here. I agree.
Yeah,
Because like all out defense, all out attack, you try to like do 1 or 2 combats at a time. So you
yeah.
get
It's hard.
turns.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like whatever.
Yeah.
Um, the rally might be okay on like a turn where you have a lot of hordes that went down to like 2 guys.
Yeah. I'm seeing
But
that
I
like
think
1 in 5
that's going to
games
be
that
army
matters.
Sagan.
Like 1 in 5 games that's gonna matter, I think.
Yeah, so it's like who cares?
Yeah. But it's gonna be cool when it does.
But that redeploy, getting 3 units to move on their turn, potentially taking objectives on their turn
Mm-hmm.
that they wouldn't otherwise be able to take. There's something there. Maybe it's worth trying, I think.
Yeah, I gotta play that again because I think it's good. I just found that it was hard to use the like combat ones, but I think rally or redeploy. And like if you get alpha, like the defense is gonna be great too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I think all 4 of these are actually like compelling. I don't know if they're
They're
equal, but
almost
they're extremely compelling.
aside from the Gersh Rage, I think they're kind of build arounds, to be honest.
Yeah, I
Um,
think you're right.
well, I guess that orc you could build around Gersh Rage, but
That's like an exception though, right?
yeah, that's not in general for
Yeah.
armies.
But like yeah, like the Glacier Command insurance policy. Yeah. And then you have 2 very powerful scoring tools. And then I guess Leader of the Alpha is a scoring tool or a very good defensive tool. So like it has more options of what it can
Yeah,
do for you in a game. But yeah, I think Tunnel Master is gonna prove to be very powerful. I think that's just gonna be a free battle tactic every game.
yeah.
And I think Stubborn as a Rhinox could be more. Or like if you're really good at killing enemy heroes, like your whole list idea is to kill the enemy hero. And then you just count as 10.
Yeah, I guess if you snipe their Galician champions, then you know what? Let's move on to the tactics
Yeah.
and talk about those.
Okay, grand strategies first, and then tactics.
Okay.
We'll probably run through these because 3 of them are the same and 3 of them are different. Tame the land, is if you control all of the objectives that are wholly outside your territory. No one took that. Defend what's ours. If there's no enemy units wholly within your territory, nobody took that. Take what's theirs. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if they're more friendly than enemy units wholly within enemy territory. That's the one I always took, and a lot of people took too.
Yeah.
So I think we have to read the next three and compare them to take what's theirs. Stake a claim. When this battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if there are 3 or more friendly Galatian champions wholly within enemy territory. That one seems risky because you're probably bringing 3 or 4 on a list, so you're guaranteeing that all of them live.
Yeah,
Or
which
most of
is
them.
not
It'll
gonna
only-
happen. Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Survivor's Instinct. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy. If the model picked to be your general is a Galatian champion, and that model is contesting an objective wholly outside your territory.
You could build around this.
I might take that the most now because if
Yeah.
I have bodyguard in a lot of my lists, which I do.
Well, you could even taking Tunnel Master and using that as a last turn move.
Yeah. Get on the
You
point.
guarantee the tactic and your grand strategy.
Yeah. And you don't even have to control it. You just have to contest it at the end
Yeah.
of the game. Last one, Day is Ours. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if there are more friendly Galatian champion units from your starting army than Galatian champion units from your opponent's starting army on the battlefield. That's making the clarification that starting is what you built your list with. So
Yep.
the demons that can summon Galatian champions, you can't just summon them and get this tactic.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
This is probably if sharpshooters becomes a thing. Some armies that can take advantage of sharpshooters will probably take the Day as Ours.
This is the sharpshooter one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stake a Claim is the command one. Or not Stake a Claim, Survivor's Instinct is the
Yeah, and Stake a Claim just sounds very difficult, even if you're not worried about sharpshooter.
I don't like
and
that one at all.
I wanted to get into. Let's go over the tactics first, but I wanted to make a comment about the Galatian champions as a whole.
Okay. Let's do the
after
tactics, because I think it's very easy, the 2 that are very pickable, or the 3 that are very pickable there.
Yeah.
And that might not even pan out, because we thought there was a lot more than 3 last time. There was 1. But let's see how it goes. I think there's 3 good ones there. Battle tactics. Gaining momentum, eye for an eye, desecrate their lands. This one's mine. All carried over from last season.
Mm-hmm.
And these were the 4 out of the 5 that I usually, 3 out of the 5 I usually got every season. Last season, this one mine was very difficult for me, but I think maybe with champions it might be more doable, or maybe less doable because you're incentivized to do Galatian champion. So I'm iffy about that one. But then there's 2 new ones. Pick an enemy Galatian champion or swarm bodyguard unit on the battlefield. Complete this battle tactic if that unit is destroyed during this turn by an attack made with a friendly Galatian champion or swarm bodyguard. So you want to go over these individually, or do you want to read them all and then talk about them?
Yeah, let's read them all first, then we'll talk about them.
Okay. Lead the assault. Complete this battle tactic if there are 2, or if at least 2 of the objectives you control are in enemy territory and are each contested by a friendly Galatian champion. That one seems really easy in some turns. United Defense. Pick 1 objective controlled by your opponent. You complete this battle tactic if you control that objective, and 2 or more friendly Galatian champions are contesting that objective at the end of this turn. So pile in on one. And then Cunning Maneuver, the easiest one, I think, the turn 1 one probably. Let's pick 1 friendly Galatian champion on the battlefield that is more than 3 inches from enemy units. You complete this battle tactic if, at the end of the turn, the Galatian champion is more than 3 inches from all enemy units and then contesting an objective you control that is wholly outside your territory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is your Galatian champion throwaway unit.
Yeah.
You just move him to get this Cunning Maneuver.
Yeah.
And then that's it. He's done. He's done his job for the army.
Yeah. Exactly.
So these. So one thing we want to point out is there's 4 tactics that don't require a Galatian champion, which means if you want to get a full score, you need to be doing something with a Galatian champion in 1 turn at least. And the comment I wanted to make is, if you look at these tactics, some of them are with 1 Galatian champion, some of them need 2 Galatian champions.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're thinking of an army that only has 2 Galatian champions, you have to really consider you're probably going to lose one by turn 2, just by enemy sharpshooters or just by how the game runs in general. Now you're down to 1 Galician champion, which means you're shutting off 2 of these tactics right away. My comment was, you probably want 4 Galician champions or none at all. You don't play the
This game, I guess. Yeah.
you don't play this season if you don't have enough Galician champions
Right.
in terms of scoring.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, of course, you might have your Galician champion Sworn Bodyguard build around in your army, but you would be building that army with the understanding that you'd be giving up these tactics.
Yes.
Uh,
Which is where the book tactics, I think, are going to bring a great disparity of armies here.
right. So each, like Skaven tactics suck.
They're terrible. And then like Daughters of Cain and Zinch ones are like auto gets. And like Slave
right. So those
very
armies
ones.
probably have a very strong. They can stand to eschew the Galician champion for the sake of scoring because they have other options available.
Yeah. Right.
But that's the thing. Like, if you're up against an army with 2 Galician champions, you snipe one of them, you shut off 2 of these tactics to that army.
Yep. So that's huge. Which is
Yeah.
why I think regular bodyguard is going to be huge in the season, which isn't immediately obvious.
Now, the flip side of what I said is 4 of these tactics are around Galician champions, which means if you do have, say, 6 champions in your army, you can build your army with the goal of just getting these tactics and not really doing combat.
And I think some armies, I mean, traditionally 6 of these units is terrible, but I think
right.
Night Haunt could really do it because they could get the Wave of Terror bonuses.
Right. So they actually have like stacking benefit of having more than having several Galician champions doing their charge. It's on charge, right?
Correct.
Yeah, they're on charge effects.
And that's great for like lead the assault, and you're like, oh, I want 2 of them on this point. Well, your enemy's on that point, and I want to murder it. And here, I'm gonna just charge into that point. You made it easier for me to be on that point.
Right.
Yep. So
yeah, the comment I wanted to make is I don't think they leaned hard enough into the tactics with Galician champions. I think they should have got rid of 2 more of these of the 4 from the previous
and make
season.
6 of them about it.
No, it made it 4 to 2.
Oh, okay.
Or I guess do they want 8 objectives?
They've always had 8.
Okay, so in that case,
season, so
maybe make it 5 to 3 then, rather than 4 to 4.
Yeah.
And the reason is just from the discussions with you and what we've said, like Galician champions have historically been, or not Galician champions, foot heroes have historically been kind of like just bad units. And
struggle to find a place, we can put it that way.
Right. So making them so that they're required to score means you actually have to think about how you move them and how you work with them a lot more. You're putting them in your army not because they're good, but because they're required to score. And they're like a ball, so to speak. And how do you score with that ball?
Good at scoring, right? Like that's the
right
point, yeah. Which is a great role for them to have, I think, personally.
Yeah.
Like I really want this kind of stuff to carry over into like we're clearly beta testing for 4th edition with these seasons. This is something I like for 4th edition. Like this gives all of these heroes.
When was 3rd edition released?
They do editions every 3 years normally.
Okay.
So this is like a year and a half.
Oh, this is Age of Sigmar.
Yes.
So in my mind, Age of Sigmar to me was like an addition, but it's not. It's like a completely different game.
Correct.
Okay, and the previous prior to Age of Sigmar, what was it?
Fantasy Battle.
Warhammer what?
Fantasy Battle.
Okay, and how many editions did they have in that?
9? 10?
9. Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, that tracks historically with what I'm thinking. I was thinking like Age of Sigmar was the edition, like 3rd edition.
No.
Okay.
We're in edition 3 of Age of Sigmar.
Of Age of Sigmar. Okay.
Yeah. But the thing I see about the battle tactic is like cunning maneuver is your like easiest turn 1 to get in this season. But I think it has like a valid opportunity cost where like the first 2 seasons really didn't. Like against the odds, it's like hold a point with a unit. Okay, yeah,
Yeah, and it could be your point where there's nothing,
yeah. And before you played
nothing,
too,
nothing for a mile.
yeah, and before you played too, one of the seasons, like battle tactic was make a run roll with 3 units.
That's it.
Yeah. Oh, they had to be within
Okay.
3 inches of each other, but who cares?
They had to start within 3 inches or end within 3 inches.
Start and end.
Okay. Okay. So they had to run together.
Yeah.
Okay, that's guaranteed.
Yeah, exactly. So like cunning maneuvers, like it's probably guaranteed. And like you have Tunnel Buddy, so you burn that to guarantee it.
What? There might be some maps where it's actually hard to get to an objective wholly outside your territory,
Well,
though.
the game we played, it was very difficult. It
Yeah,
was the middle one that you took on turn one, or it was like the ones in the corner.
and
And
the
I was
corners.
minimum
Yeah.
16 inches away, so I had to teleport to get there.
Yep.
But that's why you bring Tunnel Buddy. So you can do it.
or the artifact,
Or whatever means you have of deep striking. Like, that's going to be a huge advantage for
the
deep strike armies.
the night flyer cloak.
Yeah, that too.
Oh wait, so this is a good. You set up the unit in reserve, right?
Yeah.
Can you pick? Let's say it's a Galician champion. Can you pick that champion
Oh
to be
no,
the
it's not on the
cunning?
battlefield. No.
Okay, so that's good to know.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's a good design too. I think.
So only Tunnel Master or Tunnel Buddy could do it.
Yeah, you're right. The rule's actually Tunnel Master, but like I think that's like the closest to guaranteed one. I think what is it? Matter of Honor. That's gonna be like a hard one to have to rely on, unless your Galatian command is so fucking good that it can delete anything.
Yeah.
But like I think
So
that one's gonna be hard. Lead the
yeah,
assault.
a matter of honor. I think that's something like this is going to be settled a lot in the lead by example and uh, the opening one, the heroic phase attack.
Yeah.
So the turn starts the opponent, or the turn starts the players whose turn it is picks their tactic right before anyone can do anything.
Correct.
So they pick a matter of honor. You might actually be able to stuff that by killing their sworn bodyguard unit or their Galician champion at a turn, basically.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing to keep in mind is as you're ending your turn and moving your army and doing your pile-in moves, always keep in mind what your options are for attacking at a turn.
Yeah. Because you can deny
And
battle tactics now.
you're like, okay, if my opponent picks a matter of honor, I'll make this attack. If they pick lead the assault, I'll make that attack. If they do united offense, I still have this option. So there's a lot of things you can consider turns ahead, or at least a turn ahead.
Yep.
That I feel like wasn't really in the game in the previous season.
No, not at all.
I mean, it could also have just been my inexperience with the game as well, but I didn't really feel like there was even like post game discussion. Like,
yeah, I mean, like there's like fancy footwork you could do around the proving ground, but a lot
right.
of it didn't super matter at the end of the game, or like there's times where like it forced turns to be pretty different. But if you like learn to be smart and learn how to burn the meaningful ones early, it didn't matter again.
Yeah.
But like I think this incentive this season is always going to matter. And it's always going to be at least a rattlesnake.
Yeah.
And I think that's insanely good. But like not overpowered either. But like yeah, it's game defining, I think.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this season. I think
Yeah,
they have a
me
lot
too.
of cool ideas. And I don't know, I feel like just like a closing comment about the whole book here. I think just embrace the rules for your first couple armies.
Yeah.
Try everything. Try different things.
Mm-hmm.
See what works. There's a lot of tools available. Have fun. Have fun building your armies and trying to make something work.
Yeah. And I think I'm gonna run like 3 Galatian heroes or champions every time. 3
Yeah.
or 4.
Just to figure out until we figure out like what the proper number is.
Yeah. Alright. Did you want to do missions quickly?
So we wanted to talk about our army lists. I don't think we'll have time for both if we wanted to end at 9. We can always talk about the army lists next week
Yeah.
if we want to
Do a
go
list
over
building show.
the missions. But it's your call.
We can go a little over too. I don't mind not ending right at 9 unless you really wanted to.
No, that's fine with me.
Let's go a little over. But
Okay.
I'll try to be faster about these. But there's 12 missions. Prize of Galay, Realmstone Cache, Battle Lines Drawn, Lurkers Below, Presence of Idols, Nidus Path. Were all from last season. And those are like mostly the good ones. Lurkers Below, a lot of people don't like. A lot of people don't like Battle Lines Drawn. But the rest of them were like pretty common picks in tournaments. And I think we did Presence of Idols together. It's like the diagonal across the middle, and then you're the corner deployments. Lurkers Below is like the weird tug of war one. You're probably not familiar with a lot of these, but
Yeah, I remember the Nidus paths.
yeah. I'll say it's a
Um,
4 out of 6 success run with these missions. Or they had
yeah.
like 2 other good ones that I'm really gonna miss that they got rid of, but that's fine. And then there's 6 more missions here. And let's go over them. So, only the worthy. There's score 1, 2 more. But the special rule for this one is if you have a Galatian champion on it, it can only be contested by Galatian champions. And you can only have one Galatian champion contesting the objective at a time. It's very weird.
So like
it's you can just normally, unless I have a Galatian champion on the point. And then
right.
I just have it. And then if you
Unless I have one, and then it's tied.
Yes, and then one of us has to kill the other hero to get it.
Right.
Yeah. And then it's like the deployment, forward up. So that might shut off like some things like wholly outside your territory. For like cunning maneuver. You have to get your opponents for cunning maneuver, so that shuts off being turn 1 easy.
Yeah, because there's only one objective outside your territory.
Correct.
Yeah, that's actually almost impossible in this.
Yeah.
In this map.
So there's like things to think about like that, like how does this impact how you can score? And there's like a huge difference between if there's like no man's land in the middle or if it's just territory to territory.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about this mission. I think it's probably the better end of okay. I don't know how the Shrines of Conquest is going to go with like you're forced to kill the hero.
Yeah.
This seems like a sharpshooter army would really like this one.
Well, hold on.
And I shoot your hero dead. Have fun.
This actually punishes armies that don't put Galatian champions in their army.
Correct.
Because I can put one on the left and right objective. You can't take them.
Yeah.
Ever.
Again,
so the
super important.
Yeah, with bodyguards. And so if I have an army that's hard to move or just with a lot of meat, a lot of bodyguard meat, then I just win the game.
Yeah, this is powerful. There.
So this is like I think there's probably armies that wouldn't straight up wouldn't work on this map.
Yeah. Which is why
like
I'm not
more
a huge
so.
fan of it. But I want to play more of it because I don't think it's bad.
Right, just see how it goes.
You can gain it too easy. All right. I think we said it good enough there. Path of the Champion. So this is a 1-2. So score 1 if you control at least one objective. Score if you control 2. Score 1 if you control more than your opponents. 2 for the battle tactic.
So that's 1-2 more? Is that when you said that earlier, that's what you meant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And then there's corner deployments. And then there's the special rule here. At the start of your hero phase, if any friendly Galatian champions are contesting an objective that is wholly outside your territory, you can pick 2 battle tactics to complete instead of 1.
Alright, so maybe the game did actually lean hard into the Galatian champions than I initially thought. Yeah, this is pretty big.
Yep.
So wholly outside your territory, there's 3 objectives outside your territory.
Yep.
You can pick 2 battle tactics.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Yeah, I think this has the potential to cascade wildly in points, which is the second edition of Problem, which they try to like keep the points tighter and bound, but like I don't know. Like if your book has better battle tactics than your opponent's,
Then you're at an advantage.
yeah, you're like, ah, this is great. I can score these, and these, and it's yeah, because like you can, it lets you get above the normal point cap, which was like 5 per turn, and then the grand strats of 28. And like, God forbid, you're probably not going to be able to, but if you get 2 battle tactics every turn, that's 10 points.
But yeah, so if you complete all 8 tactics available, no,
Yeah,
you
so
could
from your
complete your
book.
own book tactics too. So if you
Yeah.
complete 10, no, you have to. It's 9 tactics is the most you could do in this map.
Yeah.
No, redeploy you could get 10.
Mm-hmm.
So if you redeploy a champion to contest a
So you're
um
11 inches away. So you would have to make one hell of a redeploy to get within 6 of the
six,
objective.
so it's just rolling 5, right? 5 or 6.
Yeah. So you could get 9 at most. So 8. So plus 8.
Right.
Yeah. That's still like a lot.
Yeah.
This
It's
one might
doable,
not be
right?
good.
But you could potentially, if you get the second turn in round 1,
Mm-hmm.
you could potentially get 10 tactics in this map
Yeah.
completed.
I like the rule, to be honest. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I like this map already.
Yeah, I want to try this. But I'm just worried about like the potential of like your book tactics are really good and mine are awful. You just win.
Yeah,
But
I
that's
don't
a problem
have.
of the game. Like I hate that part of the game.
Well, hopefully that in the balanced budget of that army that was taken into consideration. Something tells me it wasn't because it's
Yeah.
kind of like, I don't know.
There's a strong
Ants
correlation to top armies right now in those.
and those. Okay, so it's probably the case that they didn't consider that to be a factor in their balance when they should have.
Yes.
Games Workshop is what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I'm curious. I feel like if you just stuck to the 8 in the book, and then it's like, okay, you can't really get more points, but you can be lax on a turn because you can count on getting them later. I think that's an interesting design choice
Mm-hmm.
perspective. But when you just have like 12 of these things to choose, it's not that choice anymore.
Yeah. So
Or
you have to be scoring
14
a lot of
rather.
points every turn. So it's when you're contesting, right? If contesting an objective, yep. So
Yeah,
you
you
don't
have
even
to
have to
control
own
it.
the objective. You just have to contest it.
Yeah. All right, next one. Jaws of Galette. Or Gallet. What do you think? Is it Gallet, Gallet, Gullet?
Gallet is Gallet, I guess.
To
We
run
call
the
it
pallet?
Galician, right? Everyone calls them Galician.
Yeah,
I'd say it's Gallet
I would
then.
say it's Gallet too. But so this mission is it's a 1-2 more. However, if you go second in the battle round, you delete one of the objectives off the table. So at the start of each battle round, after the first, it's turn 2 and beyond. After priority
Mm-hmm.
has been determined, the player taking the second turn in this battle round can pick one objective on the battlefield to be swallowed by the caverns below. That objective is removed from play.
It's gone forever, right?
Correct.
Ooh, I like. There's only 5 objectives,
There's
which
only
means
5.
round 5, there won't be a scoring for 2 or more,
Correct.
or 2 or more objectives.
There's a mission in second edition as like a narrative on Forbidden Powers that was 6, and it had this rule, and it was one of my favorite missions in the game. So I'm very excited for this.
Yeah, the other thing is you can pick an objective. You don't have to pick one to be swallowed. Yeah. Yeah, this has the flavor of Proving Grounds to it, but this is a little bit more permanent.
Yeah.
And I really like the Proving Grounds.
Mm-hmm. So we'll play this one soon because I really like this one too, and I think it's a great mission. So yeah, I have nothing but positive to say about this. Hellscape deployment's very weird too, but I don't hate it.
It's basically corner to corner.
Yeah.
Because you won't be able to deploy very well in the adjacent zones.
Yeah.
Because of the 9-inch rule, but the 3 in your corner, that's pretty much where the bulk of your army is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty much corner against corner.
Yep.
one thing to point out: there's only one object, or no, there's two objectives wholly outside your territory. This is another one where the
Cunning maneuver is hard.
cunning maneuver will be difficult. Yeah,
What about the previous one?
I think there's.
Oh, there's two. So yeah. But
Yeah, so far they're difficult, aren't they?
Yeah. The old missions not so much, but the new ones, I think, yeah, 2 out of 3 so far are hard to do that one.
Yeah.
That's meaningful. But yeah, I think I like this one. I think this is great. And yeah, I think the L deployments, I think they add a lot to the game. I didn't know I wanted them until I played one, you know?
Right.
I think they're so cool. Next one. A different kind of L deployment. Ours for the taking. So, 1 victory point if you control your home, 1 if you control the center, 2 if you control the enemy's home objective, 1 victory point if you control the center objective and the objective is contested by a Galatian champion, and 2 for the battle tactic.
Okay, so. Oh, I see. There's 3 objectives.
Yeah.
So you could potentially score 1, 2, 4.
You can get 7 a turn.
5. Yeah. The one where you control the center objective and it's contested by a Galatian champion.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, I guess they say that, like, score a victory point if you control the center objective. They say that twice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it's and then it's the next page. And
Yeah, I
it's
see.
contested, so that's a little confusing, yeah. This one has, like, the explode potential, too, but I think it's way harder to do. And I think it's almost win more. Because if you're, like, racking up 7 points a turn, that means you control every objective, and you were winning anyway.
So far, what I'm seeing, I like that Rhinox more and more.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of, like, these seem like really heavy scoring maps, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly this one.
Yes.
But the whole point, like I was saying, leaning in with the Galician champions and getting. Yeah, I don't think you can ignore not having Galician champions in your army this season.
So they leaned in hard enough, you think?
I think they leaned in hard enough. Yeah. Now looking at these missions.
Yeah, there's a possibility that, like, the event you go to, they don't pick any of these. So maybe that goes against it too, but.
Oh, I see. Because they could pick from the other list.
Yeah, because it's 12.
Right.
They could just pick 5 of the other ones. They probably won't, but they could. Because the last 6 missions have nothing to do with champions.
Yeah.
But yeah, the objectives placements are very weird too. Like the center, but like shallow in your deployment or shallow on the board. Like that's a very weird movement to try to commit to holding all of those, and I don't think every army's capable of that.
Yeah, I think you just try to take 2, and you try to take the enemy's home objective.
Yeah.
Ah, man, but if you don't defend yours, they just get 2 victory points.
Yep.
This is going to be an interesting map.
I think it's going to be solved, but I don't know the solution right now.
Yeah.
But I think my point is, like, bunker down on the home and then put most of my army in the center.
Yeah.
I would do.
And if you get an opportunity to, like, deep strike something into their home because they leave it open,
yeah,
then you can get some good points that turn.
Yeah, like something like really fast and hard hitting as like a counter punch to the home objective of theirs. And if they like decommit to the home objective to go to the center one, you counter punch the home objective.
Yeah.
Is what I would do. Yeah. But yeah, this one's gonna be interesting. This will be fun. Twists and turns. This is the one we did.
And I like this one.
Yeah. So there's 5 objectives. Diagonal. 2 corner objectives, which I love corner objectives now that I've seen them. But so it's 1-2 more, just like the most missions. And the special rule here is at the end of your turn, if you control them, you roll a dice. And on a 4-up, they become deactivated. You add 1 to that
No,
roll if
no,
you have a
it
champion.
remains active on a 4-up.
Oh, it remains active on a 4. My bad.
Yeah.
And then the champion makes it on a 3-up. But
Yep.
then the next turn, the ones that you have heroes on that you don't, or how does it work? At the start of each hero phase, player
If
whose
they're
turn
inactive,
is
yeah.
yeah, rolls for each inactive objective they control. And on a 1 through 3, it remains inactive. Add 1 to the roll of the inactive objective contested by a Galatian champion. Okay.
On a 4-up, it remains active.
Yeah. So
Or it becomes active.
I feel like what they want you to do is like jump on these and like turn them off, but then you have the lever of the hero to stay there if you really want to bunker down on that point. But then like if you shut it off and they take it from you, they don't necessarily score.
Well, the interesting thing is like, what happened in our game is you shut off your corner or the top right corner, and then you moved your unit off of it.
Yes.
And that was never available to me to try and get like a skitter leap up there or anything like that.
Yep.
So once you score and you shut it off, you can move your, like especially the corner ones, you can move your army off of them.
Exactly.
And they're kind of out of the game because for your opponent to take the point and score, then they'd have to move the army there, and then at the start of their next turn, they have the potential to score, but not the turn they move the army there.
Yeah, and it's not even
So
guaranteed.
So it's like it's the sort of thing where if you're able to shut off a corner, you can just move in with that army.
Yeah.
And you took map control too, which was very important. And I think that's just like if you're able to shut off a corner and maintain map control, it's very powerful. So having a fast army.
I think you can't rely on it though, and that is something that people aren't going to look at this mission favorably for.
Yeah.
But yeah, good one though. I like this one.
The other thing is like a summon unit too. You can just like, the corner ones are going to be so far from the action that if you have something that summons, you can take advantage of those corners. And then if they shut off, your opponent can never take them back again because they'd have to commit so much to it.
Or
like 2 turns.
They commit
Yeah.
2 turns.
Yeah, just to.
It.
Whereas you scored and then it's done. You can move. You can focus on something else.
Yeah, I imagine this isn't going to be picked at tournaments often though because of the randomness of it. But
yeah,
I think that's a shame.
It might be a fun map though that most people like. We'll see.
Yeah.
I like the map a lot.
I
had a lot of fun on it.
I like corner deployments too. That's like hilarious.
Yeah.
But like there's also like an angle of like you have safety getting those, but then if you get them you're out of the game for a couple turns.
Yeah.
Last one, position over power. So, yeah. Score 1 victory if you control 1, 1 if you control 2, 1 if you control more. 1 point if you control any flank objectives that are contested by Galatian champions, and 2 for a battle tactic. The special rule here is that the start of the 4th battle round, the flank objectives are removed from play. So you can score on them in the first 3 turns.
Oh, so if you run out first and score more points than your opponent for the first couple turns, you actually have a lead that they can't easily catch up on.
But like if you run out to the sides to hold those points to get the lead, right? Then they just take both of the center points.
Maybe you might be able to like kind of defend from the flank though, or at least threaten from the flank.
And it's not 1 point for each flank objective. It's 1 point if you have a flank objective.
A flank, okay.
So.
Yeah, it'd be hard to control both. I think you're right.
Yeah, I don't think you can control both. I don't think you're incentivized to either. And if you try to control both, like you leave the middle open.
Yeah.
They just take the middle.
Well, controlling both is also how you score the more objective.
You can control. Oh yeah, that's true actually.
So you'd have to control both.
Yeah.
Well, assuming that they're trying to control the other.
Yeah, or you control the middle if you can punch through it. I think this one's interesting.
like to play this map. This one might be the most like it's hard to tell at first. I think how it's gonna play out,
I
but
agree.
I like the deployment.
It's weird. Yeah, I like it too, though. So if you're 9 inches away from the enemy, so
These are 11 by 12 blocks.
yeah, I'm trying to figure out how far away you are from flank one. So like you go first here, do you just like get a bunch of points? Are you gonna be
So
able to
flank
run?
one, you would be, you're basically 9 up and 12 over.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
you're 15 inches away, minus
So
6, so you're 9 inches away
okay, so like Nighthawk
to
or
touch
move
it.
8,
Yeah.
they can just run and be on it if you put them right up to the corner. Skaven, like you'd need a 3, and then like some other armies, some variation of that.
Well, Skaven, I think if they have the banner, they'd only need a 1, right?
Well, you need a Galatian champion to get the bonus point from the flank.
Oh, that's right.
That's
That's
what I'm
right.
thinking.
Yeah, they'd need a 3.
Yeah, which is why you bring Tunnel Buddy, so you can do it. I know, like, that's a joke I keep saying, but, like, honestly, like, the amount of times that, like, does something in these maps.
Well, that's the thing. If it's your throwaway foot hero that is just used for scoring,
Yeah.
you just move him to the flank and hope the enemy ignores them, and he just scores turn after turn.
Yep. And if they don't ignore him, like, cool, you went after, like, 120 points.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, can they afford to go after him?
Mm-hmm.
If they're committing 300 points to kill him, then you're probably going to do a lot more work in the center with your army versus theirs.
And if he's any bit good, too, like, and they don't commit to him, he's like, okay, now he's a support piece later, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
I don't
Yeah,
think these missions are bad.
You may convince me on the Tunnel Master being actually better now that I see the maps.
And we can go over the old ones together later too. I just didn't think it would be worth it for the show.
Right. It's this Galician. They've leaned into these Galician champions on the
So
maps,
hard. Yeah.
which is I think they needed to do more than what I was seeing in the base rules, but this is definitely enough. Yeah.
But like I think every mission here is good. There were like some missions last season that I was just like, oh, these are a disaster. And
I didn't have the context to really say one way or the other for last season's missions.
Correct.
I did like Nidus Paths.
Yep.
That's like the only one I really remember.
Yeah. We did Presence of Idols a couple times too.
Yeah, yep.
There's one that had like a 4-up rally if you're on the point. Like that rule sucked, but I really liked the map. So like, it's interesting. But yeah, list time?
Yeah, let's go over our lists.
Yeah. So I put mine first, the Royal Zombies, because yours has like some units that people will think is questionable. And I have like pretty much tried and true stuff here. But like I think that's a better storytelling anyway. But the idea here is my Galician commands a Vampire Lord with Levitate and 60 zombies. I'm in Virica, so I can reroll my casts. And I brought a Corpse Cart with the Unholy Lodestone to give him +1. So I'm looking for a 7 rerolling instead of an 8. Now if I give the zombies flying, I move up to, and like they give me first turn, I move up to the center of the board. Or even if they don't, I just charge in. And then if I win turn priority, I give it to them. Or if they give it to me, I will be able to fight in the hero phase and pile in 6 inches with flying zombies. And I think that's a lot of board control that you can do with that. And that unit combination is like a fourth of my army. And if you notice here, I have like 3 units of 10 dire wolves, which are all screens. They're very mobile. So I can protect the zombie units from like outflanking threats or make them fight less things and screening well. I have 2 necromancers, one of them with an arcane tome. The idea is I'm going to debuff problem units and then give them fight twice. And I have a vampire lord on foot with Pack Alpha, Amethystine Pinion, Stubborn as a Rhinox, because that is a spell that he'll get +1 to cast reroll. Makes him a 12-inch flyer. And then I can fly him around to different objectives to score different things I need for the battle tactics. And Stubborn as a Rhinox will make him count as 10. And I gave one of my necromancers on foot Tunnel Buddy to just be the throwaway hero. And if they don't kill him, he's a spellcaster with a debuff
Yeah.
for 120 points.
And if he's on the sidelines, he's a counter spell as well.
Exactly, yeah. And so he's there to get that point, and then if you go after him, great. Or even if I can put him on the point, and then I can put a direwolf in the grave or graveyard, and then I can just pop him up in the grave and actually have a reinforceable flank there.
Yeah.
Or graveyard in the list too. They're the guys I was talking about earlier with the 3-up, 4-up, -1/2 damage, 6s are mortal wounds. So they're an actual tried and true hammer. And the last unit is Goroslav the Gravekeeper. He's 70 points, and you can spend a command point to automatically return half of a slain unit. So the 30 zombies, it's the Deadwalker keyword, so it works on the direwolves too. So instead of having to roll 5 up at the end of the turn, I can just do it for a command point.
Right, and get 5 direwolves or get 30 zombies back.
Yeah.
So one of the things we talked about this, being able to attack out of turn.
Mm-hmm.
You rush in with the 6-inch pylon with the zombies, right?
Yeah.
You get 60 attacks off.
Mm-hmm.
And then, maybe you lose 10 zombies in the crackback.
I'm probably not getting all 60 in, because if you noticed before, in order to do the fight in the hero phase, they have to be wholly within 6 inches of the Vampire Lord.
Holy? I thought it was just within 6.
I believe it's wholly within 6. We could go back and look.
Yeah, let's take a look. That's pretty important for this list.
Yeah. So if it's
holy. Yep, holy within 6 inches.
Yeah. If it's not, it's very easy to do.
Yeah, so holy within 6 inches.
Yeah.
So maybe you attack with 40 of them?
Sure, yeah, that's good enough. Even 30 of them is good enough. Especially if
but then
on their turn and then giving them 2 attacks, fighting twice.
Yep. Then on it doesn't matter who goes the next turn, because then you do strike at the opening lead by example. They get another 30 attacks.
Yeah.
And then assuming the unit is still alive at the end at the last strike of the combat, they might get another 20 attacks in.
Yeah.
Now you could also do the command trait where you give them an extra attack.
Or the command ability, yeah.
The command ability, right? Because they're gonna be in combat anyways after all those pile-ins.
Yeah, and the Vampire Lord has that on his War Scroll natively. But the fact that it's a Realmscape command, I can do the Vampire Lords and I can do the Realm one on Graveguard too. So
right.
+1 attack on multiple sources now.
And then so you're getting over 100 attacks over a round basically, and all 6s are mortal wounds, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so you're probably in addition to the attacks that land, you're probably going to get somewhere 20 to 30 mortal wounds dealt.
Yeah.
With those 60 zombies.
So I have 3 real hammers in this list.
Yeah.
And some very powerful scoring threats. And a lot of screens.
Not to mention with the levitate and the 6-inch pylon, you move past the front line and get to their shooters in the back.
Yep.
The shooters are tied up for that turn.
Mm-hmm.
I like this list a lot. I think
I'm gonna try it soon. I think it's powerful.
Yeah.
And the heroes might need to be tweaked. I might not need 5 heroes. And maybe I don't need the +1 to cast, so I could cut a hero in the corpse cart for anything else.
Yeah, it's hard to say how important the Galician champions are going to be this early on.
Correct.
5 is probably a good number to start with. 4 or 5, I would say.
I have 4 in here because Gorislav's named.
Yeah.
So he doesn't count, but...
Oh, he's not a Galician champion?
No, because he's a named
Oh, okay, yeah. That's good to know. So, who's that one? Slink or whatever?
Yeah, Slink Skittershank, he's not a...
Yeah, he wouldn't count as a Galician champion.
Correct. Yeah, so... Yeah, I think this list has legs. I don't even know if I need the levitate, but I just think the idea of being able to fly over the line might be way relevant.
Well, they're getting these 6-inch... You're getting a 6-inch pylon on your turn.
Yeah.
And then a 6-inch pylon on their turn.
Yeah.
The levitate doesn't run off until your hero phase, correct?
Correct.
So you're getting a lot of movement off of levitate.
Yeah.
What would you put in instead if it wasn't levitate?
For a spell?
Yeah.
Maybe Flaming Weapon, so he's D3 plus 1 on 5 attacks, 3 minus 1. Like, he might just be a really good thing to fight in the hero phase.
Right. I think levitate's better than that.
I think so too.
Flaming weapon is the alternative.
Right.
Yeah.
Flaming Weapon's going to be on a... I just don't like that Levitate's an 8, and I need the Corpse Cart to, like, really push it.
Yeah, that levitate is hard to cast. That is true.
Yeah. And, like, Flaming Weapon is really easy on a 4 rerolling.
But you'll know if you have it before you commit to that kind of movement, though.
Right.
So there is...
Oh, I won't be able to fight in the hero phase with Flaming Weapon either, because that's a heroic action that goes off of 4 spells.
Wait, heroic action to cast a spell?
No, heroic action to do the bodyguard fighting thing.
Right.
They'll go... I can't cast a spell before then.
Oh, right, yeah.
On them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think there's legs here, for sure.
I actually want to see how these zombies work out with the Galician command. I think if you get a lot of value off of that, that kind of shows
The power
how powerful that battalion is.
Mm-hmm.
Even with like just a bunch of, you know, just like junk in the unit. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because it's just like just sheer volume of attacks at this point coming out of the 60 zombies.
They're 5 and 5, like, and if there's value there, like there's going to be value in your hammer units too.
Right, but it's 5, but it's also exploding. Is it called exploding sixes?
Exploding sixes is like 2 hits instead of 1.
Okay.
I guess, yeah, the mortal wounds on 6s. Probably some, yeah, I don't know.
Their base damage is 1, right?
Correct.
So it's actually better than exploding sixes because you don't have to roll wounds.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think I'm excited to try this for sure.
Yeah, I actually, like I said, I want to see how these zombies do, and these flying zombies just moving 12 inches basically.
Let's look at your list. We called this one Median Greed. Do you want to go over it real quick?
Yeah, let's take a look. I'm waiting for it to pop up on stream here.
Okay. Oh yeah, you're probably delayed a little bit. But yeah, it's your One True Love Skaven. And the gimmick here is it's 2 Screaming Bells, knowing that they went down 45 points in the new season.
Yes. So I know a lot of people dislike the Screaming Bell from the previous season.
Yeah.
I was able to use it in my first army. I put it in there, and of the 4 battles, maybe it was 5 battles, I was able to call down a Vermin Lord 3 times.
Yeah.
And every time I did it, the game was won. So it was like, in my estimation, if you're able to call down a Vermin Lord, you probably win the game.
Right.
Now I don't know if that's the case. If there was more luck involved than not, it's hard to say.
There's a
but
very small sample size.
Very small sample size. But you can't deny it's very powerful to summon down a 420 point unit or 400 point unit.
Yeah. And it's not like it doesn't do anything, because it's like
the Scream
2 caster with 2 casts. Like
yep, the Grey Seer is a +2 caster, 2 casts with a 5-up ward.
Yeah.
A decent attack profile, not the best, but it can, if it can get in there, it can do a little bit of work.
Yeah.
And it has it's Peel of Doom. There's like 2 decent effects on it, and the rest are just kind of busts.
Yeah.
And then Crack's Call it's not a very good spell, but it can be effective against some armies. Overall, I would say I would agree the Screaming Bell is probably overcosted. I don't know if it was 40 points overcosted though, now that I have a little bit more context in the game.
Yeah.
With that said, now I'm running 2 of them. The idea here is self-hurting, the Screaming Bells. The big thing here is Vermintide.
Yeah.
The endless spell hits after it moves and after you move near it. So the idea is you cast it, You have it move in the movement phase ahead of the bells, damage the bells, and then you have the bells move, somewhat to the side of the Vermintide, and have the bells damaged again by Vermintide.
Yeah.
And then you keep a squad of clan rats and around the bells to move them and also to serve as bodyguards for any excess damage. Because the idea is if you're self-hurting, your opponent will see what you're trying to do, and when you get to the point where you can call down a Vermin Lord, they might try to go in for the kill on the Screaming Bell.
Yeah.
So you have the clan rats there to soak up that surplus damage, that excess damage.
With the Master Clan's Supreme Manipulator.
Supreme Manipulator, yep.
Bodyguard on a 3-up.
For any, is it a Verminous unit or is it just any unit?
Any Grey Seers can bodyguard into any Verminous unit.
Yep, Verminous.
So that's Clan Rats and Storm Vermin, which you have combined of 130 of them here.
Yep.
Yep.
Or 60 clan. Yeah. Yep. Clan Rats and Storm Vermin.
And
yep,
another
130.
thing too is your the spell from this season fits really into your self-harm plan in addition to.
Yep. So the grinding teeth of Gallet fits smack dab right into that whole plan.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. I'm excited to see how that works out. The Burning Head is another endless spell. You cast it, it moves, it deals damage based on what it moves through, and then it's done. It gets out of there.
Yeah.
That's another source of self-damage. Now, this is sort of what I'm trying to do turn 1 and 2. The thing being is that a lot of these things you won't be able to do on the enemy anyways.
Correct.
So if you can bring your Screaming Bells to a 2-up or maybe even a 3-up on summoning the Vermin Lord by the start of turn 3, if you can do that consistently, I think the army works. Yes. If you can't do that consistently, then the army doesn't work. It's a failed experiment.
But I want to try it.
But I want to try it. Yeah. The kind of the focus here. There's 4 Galician champions.
Yeah.
There's 2 plague priests, a standing Grey Seer.
Yeah.
And then the Claw Lord. The Claw Lord is with the Storm Vermin. And the idea here is going to be a death frenzy, and Skaven Brew.
Yeah.
On the 60 clan rats or the 30 storm vermin, and then the storm vermin can also attack out of turn with the Claw Lord. However, if they do that, they can't benefit from Skaven Brew.
Correct.
The other thing that happened this season is the Bell of Doom went down in points.
Right, from 60 to 40, correct?
I think it went from maybe 60 to 40. I thought it went from 40 to 30.
Okay.
And what it does is units within the Bell of Doom don't suffer battle shock.
Yeah.
But there's a chance that it backfires and can damage your whole army if you're kind of relying on that as a mechanic.
So much closer to the summons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was either the Bell of Doom, because there's so many clan rats and storm vermin in this army. It was either that or the plague furnace. But I don't know. I didn't want to give up a Screaming Bell. I wanted to take advantage that the Screaming Bell was so cheap now that maybe there's a chance getting 2 Vermin Lord in a game.
It's called median greed because the first list had 3.
Yeah. No, you put median greed. Medium is what I had.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Median is fine too. So it'd be like maximum, median, and minimum.
Exactly. But yeah, I think the 3 Screaming Bells is a little bit of a meme.
Yes, that was maximum greed. So minimum greed would be 1 Screaming Bell and a Plague Furnace without the Bell of Doom.
Yeah, and then no greed is none of them.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing, the Bell of Doom does subtract 1 from bravery for enemy units within it.
Yeah.
So there is some world where against hordes that's actually kind of useful because it's basically adding 1 damage to everything you do.
Yep, I agree.
It's not exactly adding 1 damage, but it should average out to that.
And so some fun synergies too, right? I'm not sure if you knew about some of these, but like, let's say they're going into your Screaming Bell, and then he's bodyguarding the damage off the clan rats. And let's say the Clanrats had Death Frenzy, they get to pile in and fight off the bodyguard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and if they have Death Frenzy on, and you Skaven Brew them, and they die from the Skaven Brew, they will get Death Frenzy attacks.
With the bonus with the +2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why Curse is in here, by the way, from the one Plague Priest.
Yeah, volume attacks.
Because of the volume of attacks, just looking for 6s on mortal wounds is kind of what I'm looking to do.
Yeah.
So for example, Storm Vermin with Skaven Brew, they get they're up to 3 attacks and then 4 attacks on the leader. So you're looking at 91 attacks there, and then if they get Skaven Brew lasts until
your next hero phase, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's how it's written.
Yeah.
So in that case, if you give them the turn following up, and then you do the lead by example, you would get
a bunch, at least 3 each. Yeah.
Right. Wait, you can't do lead by example on their turn because you only have 1 heroic action.
If you're going second in the battle round, though.
Oh, that's right.
It would come to priority,
That's right.
And if they took the priority, you would have it.
Right. So 91, ending the turn with 91, and then beginning their turn with another 91.
Yeah.
Plus the Claw Lord in both cases.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And then if that unit is cursed, well, that's 180 plus the Claw Lord with the curse effect going. So that's the idea. So that's kind of like that's the meat of the army.
And I think the this army Skaven is probably going to be very good at this season because you can just skitter leap your heroes onto the points to score.
Yep. So there's the Gracier has skitter leap.
Yeah, and priests are 100 points each, and that makes them very good throwaway. And they have -1 to wound. So like they go after them with something like risky and chaffy, they have a defense mechanism a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, which is not substantial, but it's cool.
Yep.
Also,
I'm excited.
Graciers, so you have 3 claw steps ahead.
Yep,
So
I have that. I can try and fish for a strong charge or a strong run with a throwaway unit, and then use that for the unit I really want that strong charge or run with. The other thing too is the Belladoom is something I've been wanting to try since I saw it, but I didn't really see a good opportunity for it. Now that I'm running this high verminous list, 130 chaff basically.
Right.
I'd like to see how reliable the Belladoom is.
Yeah,
it's only on a 13, which is out of 3d6. It's I don't know, maybe like 7 out of 216.
Yeah. So
I'd have to run the math on it. So it's like 1/30th of the time.
It's probably the equivalent of double ones.
Yeah.
Or close to it, yeah.
Or maybe it's like 1/20th of the time. Yeah. But my feeling is the first time I cast it, I'm gonna roll that 13, and it's gonna leave a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, but like I feel like if this particular list isn't good, I think if you take out the Screaming Bells and like the Belladoom and then put anything else, like it's very close. Like the rest of it's a very good list.
Yeah, so the baseline is good. I wanna try these Screaming Bells now that they're discounted.
Oh, I fucked up here. Aspect Skitterleap. You're probably Tunnel Buddy, right?
For the Gracier?
Yeah.
Oh, Aspect. This is the
enhancement, like the
right.
The 3 heroic action or command abilities rather.
So so that one. No, it was Alpha, Command of the Alpha, Leadership of the Alpha.
Got it. Okay.
Right, yeah, I see. So for the Gracier Aspect, it says Skitter Leap. It should say Leadership of the Alpha. Yeah, that's the thing is, I wanted to see how well the triple redeploy works with all these units trying to get. Because the other thing too is, I believe if you redeploy, you can also hurt yourself off of Vermintide.
Oh, because it's a movement.
Yeah.
There you go.
So there's like the potential for, I want to say like 8 to 10 wounds within the first turn, coming on both of these
Yeah.
spells, which puts them at the 2-up right there
This
for
list
the
is
summoning the
obvious
Vermin Lord.
nonsense, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Obvious nonsense. Yeah. Cool. And then I have one more list I want to talk about because this is like more of like not into the season as much. But like I had some ideas I wanted to run them by you what you thought. So it's a Nightmont list, and I'm Quicksilver dead. So because I have one unit of Dread Sights, and that lets them ignore wards.
Right.
And I only took that one because I hate the all-comer one, and I kind of like the one Dread Scythe. And it's like I don't like Emerald Host that much, but I feel like if I can ignore the wards, that might have value in some certain matchups. Or like if people take the Grip Charm a lot, that
Yeah,
might
the
be good
Griff
enough.
Charm.
Yeah.
You ignore that. You ignore that.
So I have 5 heroes total. I have 2 Guardian of Souls, a Kurlgast, Spirit Torment, Lord Executioner. Guardian of Souls, Master of Magic, Shade Mist for a -1 to wound. Guardian of Souls, Shield Tie-ish, 5 board. Kurlgast, Arcane Tome, Spectral Tether is a teleport.
Right.
And I forgot to write it down, but one of the Guardian of Souls also has the teleport aspect. And then the Galatian commands Lord Executioner. He's 5 attacks, 3/3 -2/2 with a 5 aboard. And whenever combat happens, you pick an enemy unit within 3 to give him -1 to wound. And there with the Dreadscythe Paradins, because that's like the best hammer in this list. It's not very hammery, but the damage I'm expecting to come from is when you pile in and charge with like 3, like all of your heroes, or like
Right.
some of them
You stack the screams.
Yeah, the Wave of Terror. And if I can get Rend 1 or 2, like this Lord Execution is gonna be like a Rend 3 or 4, and that's good enough. Spirit Hosts do a lot of damage. Chainwrath boards can do a lot of damage at Rend 2. So I just have like a lot of small bodies fishing for like the Strike Last and then the extra Rend. The hero would let me do that. Spirit Hosts are in Galatian Veterans because they're 40mm base and it's a unit of 9. But I think bodyguards are insanely important to protect you from sharpshooters, and if I'm doing a hero hammer, like I don't want you killing a hero at a time, the Spirit Host is going to be there to protect them, too.
Right, for the bodyguard, yep.
Yep, Chain Rasp is there for like a cheap charge and like screening. Craven Throne Guard are 90 points now instead of 115. And they're a unit, I think they're good at 90, because I don't think, their damage is terrible. 2 attacks, 4 is -1/1, 12 inches
Right.
shooting. But like, I think they're a good enough distraction piece and like zoning piece. And Chain Gas for the same reason, but it's also an aura +1 to hit.
Well, I like the sharpshooter unit. I really like the Spirit Hosts you've done with this army in the past.
Yeah.
And this army, it's 4-up save across the board, ignore Rend, correct?
Yep.
And then they also have very high movement.
Except for Chain Rasp are 5-up ward, or 5-up save, but still.
Right.
Everyone's 8-inch movement flying.
Yeah. So one of the things I noticed in the game we played was how big a difference movement made.
Yeah.
All of these like controlling points with Galatian champions, and a lot of those maps where you get bonus points as well for having Galatian champion contesting objectives.
Yeah.
If armies kind of have this Galatian champion bend, you might find that armies are actually kind of weaker on the whole.
Yes.
in terms of damage output, which
and
means
capability too, like less wounds.
Right. Which means outlasting your opponent and being able to score more turn after turn leads into having more movement or more movement options. So the whole point of this
too, to help block.
Say again?
I have 2 units of Hex Rates to help block too.
Yep. Oh yeah, I remember the Hex Rates. They really messed up my Storm Fiends.
Your Storm Fiends in the corner one game.
Yeah, well, they like trapped the Storm Fiends, extended for like 6 inches in the one direction, and only one side was in combat with them.
Yep.
And you locked down the entire unit.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really good on your part. I should have been more aware of the consequences.
So until they do what they do, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
They're not good for damage, are they, sir? Nope. but they're very.
They're here to look at you. They're here to look at you and annoy you.
Yeah. Stop hitting yourself.
That hex, Ma, there's a hex wraith outside.
I don't want it getting near Lucy. But yeah, I think just the gamble of this list is you can't shoot me off my points because I have Spirit Host with sharpshooters. Or at least my core units of my Galatian Command. And I'm not trying to lean into the Galatian Command, but I'm trying to be aware of it and be able to maximize its benefit. Or
Yeah.
not maximize, but to like take advantage of it.
Well, that's the thing, like we talked about earlier. If you can't use it at all in an army, I think you're at a disadvantage.
Yes, because you're no turn 2 incentive, right?
Right. So it's like have something that can use it at least. Even if it's not the best thing, being able to attack out of turn, you can always find something to do.
Yeah. And there's a possibility I make the Lord Executioner the general instead and give him Hatred of the Living to reroll hits and wounds.
And so he actually does have a pretty decent attack.
Yeah. And if he's being bodyguarded, he doesn't matter that he's fighting last.
Yeah, this is probably something you play as is, and then like 2 or 3 times, and then switch it up with the Lord Executioner and see how that feels.
Yeah. And I think the Sharpshooter has a chance to that like block there has a chance of just becoming literally anything else that's more hammery.
Right.
Later on too.
So how I forget, were the Craven Throne Guard, were they decent shooters?
2 attacks each. 4 is 4 is -1 1. 12-inch range. So no.
So you're looking at 10.
Yeah.
4 up, -1 1. So like 3 damage on average.
And,
with like a 5 up save.
Kill, like skink stuff, like or like little.
Well, there's still
5 up save. Like I might be able to kill a Gracier with like.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was getting at. Is like the weak foot heroes that don't have good defense, you can just snipe with them.
They might be able to do it, yeah. And even like they're good enough being annoying, and if you don't answer them, they're one more thing for that I can commit minimally just to get the Wave of Terror off too.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I think on 15 is way too much for them, but I think 90 is they're good at 90.
Well, and even if like
zoning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this has some legs too. And I think like easy changes, like the Craven Throne Guard could be proven not to be good at 90. And like I could take a hero out and then I'd have like a couple hundred points.
Yeah.
And I could go back to like Scarlet Doom and have like the impact charges for like the units of Blade Ghosts. Put them in the bonds or the Galatian veterans too.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. So Craven Throne Guard, they're 90 points.
Yeah.
And Chain Ghasts are how many?
110.
So that's a 290 unit right there, or 290
attack. My mistake.
Chain Ghasts. Okay.
110. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. There's Chained Rasp Horde. Okay.
Yeah.
Chain Ghasts. Those are 90. So you're looking at 270 for that sharpshooter battalion.
90 plus 90 plus 9. Yeah, 270. Yeah.
So I'm not sure what you could fit instead. Like, I think having a shooter take advantage of like a foot hero that happens to be at like 2 or 3 wounds or whatever.
Yeah, I could do another Dread Scythe and another Chain Rasp for those points. So that might be worth it.
That might be, yeah.
Yeah. But again, like the same reason you brought the bell, it went down a lot.
Yeah, so you want to try it out and see how it feels.
Just dismiss it. I want to try it.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and I guess I do have 30 points, so I could have like 300 points. Which, it's not bad.
Yeah, you're working with a 30 point margin here.
Yeah, exactly.
I like this list a lot. I mean, this is pretty much what you played against me over Christmas.
One more hero and one less support unit.
Yeah, I thought that army was good.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah, I'm excited to try this too. I think Night Hunt are going to be great in this season. Because their best units are like foot heroes, right?
Yeah, so
yeah,
they should fit naturally in with the theme.
Exactly. All right, well that's it for the list tonight. think we talked about everything we needed to. Overall,
Yeah,
very optimistic about this season, right?
yeah. So this is, like you said at the start, this is going to be my first season at the start with a decent handle on the game at the start as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to be at the ground, seeing how things evolve.
Yeah. And like you have a good mind for this game too. Like you think about like synergies and like incentives on the board. And a lot of people don't have that like immediately.
Hmm.
Like they're too busy like trying to get their army rules down, which is fair because there's a lot.
Yeah, yeah. There's like even I think I think it's just like the past couple games I've actually finally memorized some of my war scrolls.
Yeah, like
But
it's a
like I
lot.
just
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot to, and it's helpful because you're playing with different armies almost every time we play. So I get a lot of like um different situations that I'm trying, because I'm sticking mainly with Skaven,
Mm-hmm.
modifying the army slightly every time we play just to
Right.
keep it consistent. Uh, but yeah, I'm excited for this season.
Yeah. Like once you get very comfortable with something, we can start doing more tournaments too,
Yeah, that's the other
or
thing.
just playing with more people. Yeah.
We can talk about that offline,
Yeah.
but
Exactly.
uh, I would like to do. You mentioned like 2v2s at some point.
Mm-hmm.
That sounded fun.
Yeah, I think so. But I want to like go through all of the new missions first before repeating some of the old ones.
Hmm.
But I think that'll put a very big tilt on the Galatian veterans. But that's what we wanted to try first anyway, or
Yeah,
Galatian
see how.
champions rather than.
Yeah, the champions, the veterans are gone.
Yeah.
I guess they exist as that battalion with the Bonds of Battle.
That's true. But what happened was bounty hunters hunted expert conquerors to extinction, ran out of food, and starved to death. And everyone rejoiced. But yeah, so I think I'll call it for tonight. Next week, Bill should be back, and my painting setup should be done, so we don't have to do a face cam again. But Ray, thank you for joining me on almost last minute.
Yeah, I hope I had some good points to make.
I think you did
I
for
hope
sure.
we had some good discussions. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a great video, I think. But either way, we'll see you guys later. Thanks for joining.